She's my wife. Those three words exploded across every news channel in America within minutes. Adrian Cole, the billionaire nobody knew existed, had just claimed the country's most untouchable CEO as his bride. But here's the problem. It was a complete lie. A desperate, reckless lie told to save a stranger from a media feeding frenzy. And now, with cameras flashing and the whole world watching, there was no taking it back. Before we dive into how a single father's protective instinct created the biggest celebrity scandal of the decade, hit that like button and drop a comment with your city. I want to see how far this story travels. Now let's begin. The champagne was too expensive, the laughter too loud, and Adrian Cole wanted absolutely nothing to do with any of it. He stood near the marble columns at the edge of the grand ballroom, a glass of sparkling water in his hand that he hadn't touched in 20 minutes. The annual Metropolitan Charity Gala, the kind of event where a single table costs more than most people earned in a year, stretched before him in waves of designer gowns, tailored tuxedos, and the particular brand of forced conversation that made his jaw ache from smiling politely. Adrian hated these things. At 32, he'd built an empire most people would never know about. Cole Construction Group operated quietly across 15 states, turning abandoned lots into hospitals, schools, and affordable housing developments. The company was worth just over $1 billion on paper, but Adrian preferred spreadsheets to spotlights. He wore suits because they were expected, not because he enjoyed them. And tonight, he was only here because his CFO had insisted the company needed visibility among the city's elite philanthropic circles. Visibility. Right. What Adrian actually needed was to get home before Emma's bedtime. His daughter, 6 years old, gap-toothed, and convinced that bedtime stories didn't count unless her dad did all the character voices, was currently with Mrs. Patterson next door. The older woman was patient and kind, but Emma had been testing boundaries lately. Last week, she'd convinced the babysitter that ice cream counted as dinner if you put granola on top. Adrian checked his watch. 9:47. If he left now, he could still make it home before she fell asleep. He was calculating the fastest exit route when the first camera flash went off somewhere near the main entrance. Then another. Then a dozen more, rapid-fire bursts of light that turned the elegant ballroom into something resembling a lightning storm. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. Heads turned. Even the string quartet faltered for half a measure before recovering. Adrian frowned, trying to see what had caused the commotion. That's when he saw her. Vanessa Sterling moved through the crowd like someone trying very hard not to run. She wore a black evening gown that probably cost more than Adrian's truck, her dark hair swept up in something complicated and elegant. But what caught his attention wasn't the dress or the way every eye in the room tracked her movement. It was her face. Beneath the perfect makeup and composed expression, Adrian recognized something he'd seen countless times in construction site negotiations and hostile boardroom meetings. Barely contained panic. She was afraid. The reporters followed her like sharks scenting blood in the water. Adrian counted at least 8 of them, cameras raised, voices overlapping in a cacophony of shouted questions. "Miss Sterling, is it true the engagement is off?" "Vanessa, over here. Did Marcus cheat again? How does it feel to be left at the altar twice? Are you worried investors will lose confidence after another failed relationship?" The questions hit like punches. Adrian saw Vanessa's shoulders tense with each one, watched her try to maintain that famous Ice Queen composure even as the crowd pressed closer. Security guards attempted to intervene, but there were too many reporters, too many cameras, too much chaos erupting in a space designed for refined elegance. She was being hunted, and nobody was helping her. Adrian didn't make a conscious decision. One moment he was standing by the column, preparing to leave. The next, he was moving through the crowd, his brain offering several very reasonable arguments for why getting involved was a terrible idea. He ignored all of them. Vanessa had backed herself against a decorative marble pillar near the eastern wall, trapped between stone and cameras. Her chest rose and fell with quick, shallow breaths. The famous CEO, who'd been featured on magazine covers and business podcasts, the woman they called the Ice Queen of corporate America, looked about 5 seconds away from a full panic attack. Adrian reached her just as one reporter pushed forward aggressively, nearly knocking her off balance. "Excuse me," Adrian said quietly, stepping between them. The reporter barely glanced at him. "Sir, if you could just—" Adrian didn't move. He simply stood there, solid and immovable, until the reporter took a reluctant step back. Then Adrian turned to Vanessa, blocking the cameras with his body. Up close, he could see the cracks in her armor, smudged mascara at the corner of one eye, lipstick worn away from being bitten, hands trembling despite being clenched into fists. "Are you okay?" he asked, keeping his voice low enough that only she could hear. Vanessa stared at him like he'd appeared out of thin air. She swallowed hard. "I can't. They won't." Another camera flash, more shouted questions. The crowd was growing, feeding on the drama like it was entertainment instead of someone's life falling apart in real time. Adrian had been in war zones calmer than this. He made a decision. Without asking permission, without thinking about consequences, Adrian wrapped one arm around Vanessa's waist and pulled her against his side. She stiffened in surprise, but he kept his movements slow and deliberate, giving her time to pull away if she wanted. She didn't. Instead, she leaned into him slightly, like a drowning person grabbing a lifeline. The reporters immediately sensed fresh blood. "Who are you?" "Sir, what's your relationship with Miss Sterling? Are you the new boyfriend? How long have you two been seeing each other?" Adrian felt Vanessa's breathing quicken against his ribs. The questions wouldn't stop. They never did, not with stories this juicy. He'd seen it before, had deliberately built his entire business strategy around avoiding exactly this kind of media circus. But standing here now, with cameras flashing and a stranger trembling in his arms, Adrian found himself doing something completely insane. He looked directly at the nearest camera, his expression calm and matter-of-fact. "She's my wife." The ballroom detonated. Cameras went absolutely wild, flashing so rapidly that Adrian's vision spotted white. Reporters shouted over each other, voices climbing in pitch and volume. Someone dropped a champagne glass, the sound of shattering crystal briefly cutting through the chaos. "What? Did he just say wife? Vanessa Sterling is married? When did this happen? Why didn't anyone know?" Adrian felt Vanessa go rigid against him, shock rolling through her body like an electric current. But to her credit, she didn't contradict him, didn't pull away. She stood frozen, her hand clutching the fabric of his jacket like it was the only thing keeping her upright. The reporters surged forward, a wall of microphones and cameras and desperate hunger for the story. Adrian tightened his arm around Vanessa's waist and started walking, cutting a path through the crowd with the kind of stubborn momentum he'd learned managing construction sites. People scattered. Some tried to follow, but Adrian navigated toward a service hallway he'd noticed earlier, the kind staff used to move between the kitchen and ballroom without being seen. "Don't look back," he murmured to Vanessa. "Just keep walking." She did, her heels clicking against marble in rapid staccato rhythm that matched her breathing. They pushed through an unmarked door into a narrow corridor that smelled like catering equipment and industrial cleaning solution. The noise from the ballroom immediately muffled, dropping to a distant roar. Adrian kept walking until they reached a small alcove near the service elevator. Only then did he release her. Vanessa stumbled back, pressing one hand against the wall for balance. Her carefully styled hair had come partially loose, dark strands falling across her face. The perfect makeup looked smudged and worn. She stared at him. Adrian waited, expecting her to yell, demand to know what the hell he'd been thinking. Maybe slap him. He probably deserved it. Instead, Vanessa started laughing. It wasn't pleasant laughter. It was the kind that bordered on hysteria, sharp, and a little broken, like something inside her had finally snapped after holding together too long. "You..." She pressed her hand to her mouth, eyes wide. "You just told them we're married." "Yeah," Adrian said. "I noticed. The entire city is going to think... They're going to..." Another burst of laughter, this one edging toward panic. "Do you have any idea what you just did?" Adrian considered the question seriously. "Created a massive problem for both of us?" Massive doesn't begin to cover it. Vanessa pushed her hair back with shaking fingers. That was live television. Every major network was covering the gala. By tomorrow morning, every person in America is going to think Vanessa Sterling secretly married a... She stopped, really looking at him for the first time. "I don't even know your name." "Adrian Cole." "Adrian Cole," she repeated, like testing the words. "I've never heard of you." "That's intentional." "Are you rich?" The bluntness of the question caught him off guard. That's kind of a rude thing to ask. You just claimed to be my husband in front of 200 cameras. We're past polite. Vanessa's eyes narrowed, the panic starting to recede as something sharper took its place. Because if you're some random guy who thought he could get 15 minutes of fame by attaching himself to my name, I will destroy you. I don't care how noble you think you were being out there. I own Cole Construction Group, Adrian interrupted quietly. Vanessa stopped mid-sentence. What? Cole Construction Group. We operate in 15 states, mostly infrastructure development, affordable housing, public works projects. He paused. The company's worth about $1.2 billion, give or take. Vanessa's mouth opened, closed, opened again. You're... She shook her head slowly. You're Adrian Cole? The Adrian Cole? Now it was Adrian's turn to be surprised. You've heard of me? Heard of you? Your company built half the hospitals in the Northeast Corridor. You outbid Sterling Enterprises on the Philadelphia municipal contract last year. She stared at him like seeing him properly for the first time. How is it possible I've never seen your face before tonight? I prefer it that way. Prefer... Vanessa laughed again, but this time it sounded more genuine, less hysterical. You run $1 billion company and nobody knows what you look like? Most people don't care what construction executives look like. We're not exactly glamorous. You just claim one of the most photographed women in America as your wife. Vanessa's expression shifted into something complicated, part disbelief, part calculation, part something Adrian couldn't quite read. Glamorous or not, your privacy just ended. Adrian felt the full weight of what he'd done settle into his chest. His phone buzzed, then buzzed again. Then started ringing continuously, the vibrations creating a steady hum against his ribs. Vanessa's phone was doing the same thing inside her small clutch purse, the sound muffled but insistent. We need to fix this, Adrian said. I'll call a press conference tomorrow. Explain it was a misunderstanding, that I was just trying to help and people misheard. They didn't mishear anything. Vanessa pulled out her phone, glancing at the screen. Her face went pale. We're trending. Worldwide. #1 on every platform. She turned the phone so Adrian could see. The headline screamed across every major news site. Breaking. Ice Queen. CEO Vanessa Sterling. Secretly married to mystery billionaire. Below it, a photo showed Adrian and Vanessa in the ballroom, his arm around her waist, both of them illuminated by camera flashes. The image had already been shared 40,000 times, in the span of 10 minutes. This is bad, Vanessa whispered. I'll fix it, Adrian said again, more firmly. Tomorrow morning, I'll... No, he blinked. What? Vanessa looked up from her phone, and Adrian saw the moment her expression shifted. The panic disappeared, replaced by something calculating and sharp. The Ice Queen returning. Don't fix it, she said slowly. I don't understand. My company's stock dropped 18% last month after my engagement to Marcus fell apart. The board is talking about replacing me. Investors are nervous. She gestured at the phone. But this? A secret marriage to a respected billionaire nobody's ever heard of? This is romantic, mysterious. It makes me look stable instead of like a woman who can't maintain a relationship. Adrian stared at her. You want to keep lying. I want to survive. Vanessa's jaw tightened. Do you have any idea what it's like to build something from nothing, only to watch people try to tear it down because you're a woman who isn't married by 30? Because investors think you're too emotional or unstable every time a relationship ends? No, Adrian admitted. I don't. Then trust me when I say this lie might be the only thing that saves my company. She took a step closer, her eyes locked on his. 1 month. Maybe 2, just long enough for things to stabilize. We make a few public appearances, let people take pictures, feed the story, then we quietly divorce. Irreconcilable differences. Nobody gets hurt. Nobody gets hurt? Adrian repeated slowly. I have a daughter. The calculation in Vanessa's expression flickered. What? Emma, she's 6. And she's not going to understand why her dad is suddenly on every news channel claiming to be married to a stranger. Silence filled the small alcove. Vanessa's phone buzzed again. So did Adrian's. The world outside was moving fast, spinning a story neither of them could control anymore. I have to go, Adrian said finally. This was a mistake. I'm sorry. He turned toward the service elevator. Wait! Vanessa's voice stopped him. When he looked back, she'd crossed her arms, the defensive posture at odds with her elegant dress. You jumped in front of cameras to protect someone you didn't know. Why? Adrian thought about Emma, about the night her mother had left, the way his daughter's small hand had gripped his while lawyers explained custody arrangements in cold, clinical terms. The fear in Emma's eyes that she was somehow responsible. Because nobody else was helping you, he said simply. Something shifted in Vanessa's expression. The ice cracked just slightly. I'll pay you, she said. Whatever you want. Name your price. I don't want your money. Then what do you want? Adrian considered the question. His phone was still buzzing. Emma was waiting at home. Tomorrow, his carefully constructed private life was going to explode across every media outlet in the country. I want my daughter to have a normal childhood, he said quietly. And I just made that impossible. The elevator arrived with a soft ding. Adrian stepped inside, pressing the button for the ground floor. Vanessa remained in the hallway, watching him with an expression he couldn't decipher. Adrian, she called out just before the doors closed. He looked up. Thank you, Vanessa said, for helping me, even if it was crazy. The doors slid shut before he could respond. Zag. Adrian's apartment was dark when he got home, the only light coming from Mrs. Patterson's TV playing quietly in Emma's room. He paid the babysitter, deflecting her questions about why he was home early, and waited until she left before checking on his daughter. Emma was asleep, curled around her stuffed elephant, her dark hair spread across the pillow in tangles that would be a nightmare to brush in the morning. She looked peaceful, innocent, completely unaware that her father had just made a decision that would change everything. Adrian sat on the edge of her bed, careful not to wake her. I'm sorry, sweetheart, he whispered. I didn't mean for this to happen. Emma stirred but didn't wake. Her hand reached out instinctively, finding his and holding on even in sleep. Adrian stayed there for a long time, watching his daughter breathe, trying to figure out how he was going to explain any of this. His phone buzzed again. Another message. Another notification. The world spinning faster. When he finally stood and walked into the kitchen, Adrian found 23 missed calls, 67 text messages, and more than 200 notifications across various social media platforms he barely used. The top message was from his CFO. What the hell did you do? Adrian almost laughed. Almost. Instead, he poured himself a whiskey he didn't particularly want and sat at the kitchen table, watching his carefully private life disintegrate in real time across his phone screen. The knock came at 7:30 the next morning. Adrian had been awake for hours, fielding calls from his legal team, his publicist, who he hadn't even known he had, and several board members demanding explanations. Emma was still asleep, blissfully ignorant of the chaos. He wasn't expecting visitors. When Adrian opened the door, Vanessa Sterling stood in his hallway wearing jeans, an oversized sweater, and no makeup. She looked younger without the corporate armor, tired, real. How did you find my address? Adrian asked. I'm a CEO. I have resources. Vanessa glanced past him into the apartment. Can I come in? Emma's still asleep. Good. We need to talk before she wakes up. Adrian hesitated, then stepped aside. Vanessa walked into his apartment like she was cataloging everything. The worn furniture, the children's drawings stuck to the refrigerator with magnets, the stack of picture books on the coffee table. Her expression was unreadable. Nice place, she said, though it sounded more like an observation than a compliment. It's home. Adrian closed the door. What are you doing here, Vanessa? She turned to face him, and Adrian saw she was holding a tablet. When she tapped the screen, a video began playing. It was footage from the gala. The moment Adrian had wrapped his arm around her, the moment he'd said those 3 words, the video had 17 million views. This, Vanessa said, gesturing at the screen, has completely changed the narrative. Sterling Enterprises stock jumped 12% when markets opened this morning. I've had 3 major investors call to congratulate me. The board meeting that was supposed to discuss my removal got canceled. I'm happy for you, Adrian said carefully, but my family knows it's fake. That stopped him. What? My father called at 6 a.m. Asked how much I was paying you. Vanessa's jaw tightened. He knows I'm desperate enough to fabricate a marriage to save the company, and he's threatening to expose the whole thing unless I end it immediately. Adrian felt his stomach drop. So you're here to ask me to do a press conference? No. Vanessa set the tablet down on his kitchen counter. I'm here to ask you to actually do this. Do what? Pretend to be my husband. For real. Not just one appearance, an actual arrangement. You move into my place, we're seen together publicly, we sell the story. She paused. 3 months, that's all I need, long enough to stabilize things. Then we divorce quietly and you get your privacy back. That's insane. That's business. I have a daughter. I know. Vanessa's expression softened slightly. And I'm not asking you to put her in the spotlight. We can be careful, strategic about when, and where we're photographed. But Adrian, she took a step closer. If we don't control this story, someone else will. And when the truth comes out that I lied, Sterling Enterprises collapses. My competitors will make sure of it. That's not my problem. What about Emma's problem? Adrian went very still. Excuse me? You said you wanted her to have a normal childhood. Right now, there are photographers camped outside this building. I passed 4 on my way up. Vanessa's voice was gentle but firm. Whether you help me or not, they're not going away. This story is too big. But if you work with me, if we give them what they want, eventually they'll get bored and move on. Adrian wanted to argue, wanted to throw her out and pretend none of this was happening, but she wasn't wrong. What exactly are you proposing? He asked slowly. Vanessa pulled out her phone, opening what looked like a contract. 3 months. We maintain the appearance of a marriage, a few public events, some coordinated photo opportunities, maybe a joint interview. You and Emma move into my penthouse. It's secure, private, better for keeping her safe from cameras. You want us to live with you? Separate bedrooms, Vanessa added quickly. I'm not suggesting anything inappropriate, just cohabitation for appearances. And after 3 months? Quiet divorce, mutual decision. We stay friends for Emma's sake. The media moves on. She looked at him steadily. I'll pay you $5 million. Adrian almost choked. What? $5 million. Compensation for the disruption to your life and Emma's. You can put it in a trust for her education or donate it, whatever you want. I don't want your money, Vanessa. Then what do you want? The question hung in the air between them. What did he want? The same thing he'd wanted since Emma was born, to give his daughter a stable, happy life away from drama and chaos, to protect her from the ugliness he'd seen in business, in failed relationships, in the way people used each other. And now he'd destroyed that with 3 words spoken without thinking. I want Emma safe, Adrian said finally. I want her to be able to go to school without being swarmed by photographers. I want her childhood to be normal. Then help me end this quickly, Vanessa said. 3 months of controlled exposure, then it's done. Or we could fight it, release statements saying it was a misunderstanding. But that makes both of us look like liars, and the media will dig deeper. They'll find out about Emma's mother, your business, everything you've worked to keep private. Adrian's hands clenched into fists. That's not fair. No, Vanessa agreed quietly. It's not, but it's the situation we're in. A small sound from the hallway made them both turn. Emma stood in her doorway, clutching her stuffed elephant, her dark hair wild with sleep. She wore pajamas covered in cartoon stars and looked confused by the stranger in their kitchen. Daddy? Her voice was small. Who's that? Adrian's heart lurched. He crossed the room quickly, kneeling down to her level. Hey, sweetheart. This is a friend of Daddy's. Her name is Vanessa. Emma peered around him at Vanessa with open curiosity. Are you a princess? Vanessa blinked, clearly not expecting the question. What? You're pretty like a princess, Emma said matter-of-factly. Do you live in a castle? A smile tugged at Vanessa's lips despite everything. Something like that. Emma, why don't you go pick out your school clothes? Adrian suggested gently. I'll make breakfast in a few minutes. Can we have pancakes? Sure, sweetheart. With chocolate chips? Regular pancakes. Emma's face fell into an exaggerated pout, but she shuffled back toward her room, the elephant dragging on the floor behind her. When Adrian turned back to Vanessa, she was watching the hallway with an odd expression. She's sweet, Vanessa said softly. She's the best thing in my life. Adrian straightened. Which is why I can't just... Daddy, Emma called from her room. Why are there people with cameras outside? Adrian closed his eyes. Because Daddy made a mistake, honey. Vanessa was still looking at the hallway where Emma had disappeared. When she spoke again, her voice was quieter. I meant what I said. We'll keep her safe. Whatever it takes. You don't even know her. No, Vanessa agreed. But I know what it's like when your private life becomes public property. And I wouldn't wish that on anyone, especially not a 6-year-old. Adrian studied her face, looking for the calculation, the corporate manipulation. But what he saw instead was something unexpected. Regret. His phone buzzed. A text from his head of security. Media presence increasing. Police called for crowd control. Recommend moving to secure location. Adrian showed Vanessa the message. She nodded slowly. My building has underground parking, private elevator, security that actually works. She paused. The offer stands. 3 months. We control the story, then it ends. And if I say no, then we both deal with the fallout on our own. But Adrian, Vanessa met his eyes directly. They're not going to leave you alone either way. At least this way, we're together when the wolves come. Emma appeared in the doorway again, this time wearing mismatched socks and her shirt inside out. Daddy, I can't find my blue shoes. I'll help you look in a minute, sweetheart. Can Vanessa help? Emma asked hopefully. Vanessa looked startled. I don't know where your shoes are, sweetie. You could look with us, Emma said with devastating 6-year-old logic. More people means we find them faster. That's what Daddy always says about teamwork. Adrian felt something in his chest twist painfully. Vanessa glanced at him, a silent question in her expression. He should say no. Should protect Emma from getting attached to someone who would disappear in 3 months. Should hold firm to the boundaries he'd built around their quiet life. Instead, Adrian heard himself say, "The blue shoes are usually under the couch." Emma's face lit up. She grabbed Vanessa's hand without hesitation, tugging her toward the living room. "Come on, I'll show you my rock collection while we look." Vanessa let herself be pulled along, shooting Adrian a helpless look over her shoulder. Adrian stood in his kitchen, listening to his daughter chatter enthusiastically about sedimentary versus igneous rocks, while the most powerful CEO in the city searched for shoes under his furniture. His phone buzzed again. This time it was a photo someone had just posted online. Adrian and Vanessa leaving the gala together, her tucked against his side, both of them illuminated by camera flashes. The caption read, #RelationshipGoals. Adrian laughed. It came out bitter and tired. "Found them!" Emma's voice rang out triumphantly from the living room. When Adrian walked in, he found Vanessa sitting on the floor next to his daughter, holding up a pair of small blue sneakers like they were a trophy. Emma was explaining something about her rock collection with intense seriousness, and Vanessa was actually listening. "Daddy, Vanessa doesn't know the difference between quartz and granite," Emma said, scandalized. "Can she stay for breakfast so I can teach her?" Adrian looked at Vanessa. She looked back, her expression saying very clearly, "I have no idea how this happened." "Pancakes sound great," Vanessa said quietly, "if that's okay with your dad." 3 months, Adrian thought. 3 months of pretending, then back to normal. He looked at Emma's hopeful face, at Vanessa sitting on his worn carpet surrounded by rocks and children's books, at his phone still buzzing with notifications from a world that wouldn't leave them alone. "Yeah," Adrian said finally. "Tom, pancakes." Emma cheered, and Adrian wondered what the hell he was about to agree to. The pancakes burned. Not badly, but enough that Adrian had to scrape the blackened edges off while Emma watched with the kind of solemn disappointment only a 6-year-old could muster. Vanessa stood awkwardly by the refrigerator, clearly unsure whether offering to help would be welcomed or insulting. "It's fine," Adrian muttered, dumping the ruined pancake into the trash. "I'm just distracted." "You never burn pancakes," Emma observed, climbing onto her chair at the kitchen table. "Are you sad?" "No, sweetheart, just thinking." "About the cameras outside?" Adrian's hand tightened on the spatula. He'd hoped Emma hadn't noticed. "Yeah, about that." Emma swung her legs under the table, her mismatched socks flashing with each kick. "Mrs. Chen from downstairs said you're famous now. She showed me her phone. There were lots of pictures of you and Vanessa. Vanessa went very still. Adrian poured more batter onto the griddle, focusing on making perfect circles even though his hands wanted to shake. Mrs. Chen talks too much. She said Vanessa is your wife. Emma looked between them with open curiosity. Are you married? The kitchen went silent except for the sizzle of cooking batter. Adrian opened his mouth, but no words came out. Every answer felt like a lie or a truth that would hurt later. Vanessa moved first. She crossed to the table and sat down across from Emma, her expensive sweater looking absurdly out of place in Adrian's thrift store furnished kitchen. Your dad and I are friends, Vanessa said carefully. Sometimes grown-ups have to pretend things for work, like when you play make-believe. Emma's eyes widened with understanding. Like when I pretend to be an astronaut? Exactly like that. So you're pretending to be married. Something like that. Emma considered this with the seriousness of a judge. Okay, can I be in the pretend too? Adrian nearly dropped the spatula. Emma, I could be the flower girl, Emma continued, warming to the idea. Or the ring bearer. Mateo in my class was a ring bearer at his cousin's wedding, and he said it was really fun except he dropped the rings and everyone laughed. Vanessa's lips twitched. I don't think we need a flower girl for pretend. Oh. Emma's face fell, then brightened again. Can I still come to your castle? It's not a castle, it's a penthouse. Does it have a pool? Vanessa blinked. Yes, actually. Emma turned to Adrian with an expression of pure betrayal. Daddy, she has a pool and you didn't tell me. We're not moving into Vanessa's place, Em. But she has a pool. That's not a good reason to eat. It's on the roof, Vanessa added, almost apologetically, with a view of the whole city. Emma's jaw dropped. A roof pool? Adrian shot Vanessa a look that clearly said, stop helping. She had the grace to look sheepish. The pancakes were ready. Adrian served them in silence. One for Emma, with a carefully drawn smiley face and chocolate chips that he definitely hadn't planned to use. One for Vanessa, one for himself. Emma immediately began dissecting hers with scientific precision, eating the chocolate chips first. Vanessa cut hers into small, neat pieces, but didn't actually eat any of them. Adrian noticed. Not hungry? I don't usually eat breakfast. You should eat something. It's going to be a long day. Why? Adrian pulled out his phone, scrolling through the messages that had been piling up since dawn. My publicist wants to schedule a joint statement. Your publicist wants the same thing. There are 17 interview requests. Someone from Good Morning America called my CFO directly, and... He paused. Your father left a voicemail. Vanessa's fork stopped moving. What did he say? I didn't listen to it. Seemed like that was your business. She stared at him like he'd said something shocking. You didn't listen? Why would I? Because most people would be desperate to know what Richard Sterling thinks of this situation. I don't care what Richard Sterling thinks. Vanessa set down her fork carefully. You should. He's threatening to expose us. Emma looked up from her systematic pancake destruction. Expose what? Nothing, sweetheart, Adrian said quickly. Grown-up stuff. Is it about the pretend? Too smart. His daughter was way too smart. Eat your pancakes, Em. Emma sighed dramatically, but returned her attention to her plate. Vanessa's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and Adrian saw her jaw tighten. My father's calling a board meeting this afternoon. He's going to demand proof of the marriage. We don't have proof. No, Vanessa agreed quietly. We don't. Adrian stabbed at his pancakes without eating them. The situation was spiraling faster than he could track. Yesterday, he'd been an anonymous construction executive. Today, he was married to a woman he'd known for less than 12 hours. His daughter was asking about roof pools, and somewhere outside his building, a crowd of photographers was waiting to document every moment of his life. What if we actually did it? Vanessa said suddenly. Adrian looked up. Did what? Got married, for real. She raised a hand before he could respond. Not a real marriage. A legal one. Just paperwork. Enough to satisfy my father and the board. You want me to legally marry you? I want us to have documentation that proves the relationship is real. Marriage license, official records. Then after 3 months, we file for divorce. It's cleaner than trying to maintain a lie without any proof. Adrian laughed. It came out harsh and disbelieving. That's insane. It's practical. It's legally binding. So is a business contract. We'd just be adding signatures to the arrangement. Vanessa leaned forward. Adrian, my father is not going to drop this. If he thinks there's even a chance this is fake, he'll hire investigators. They'll dig into your background, Emma's mother, every detail of your life. But if we have a marriage license dated before the gala, we can't backdate legal documents. No, but we can get married today and claim we'd been keeping it quiet, that the gala was just when it slipped out. Emma had stopped eating entirely now, watching them with wide eyes. Adrian shook his head. This is moving too fast. I know. I need to think about Emma. I know that too. Vanessa's voice softened, which is why I'm asking, not demanding. You have every right to say no, but Adrian, she gestured at the window where they could hear shouting from the street below. They're not going away. And if my father succeeds in proving this is fake, both of us lose everything. You lose your privacy, I lose my company. Emma loses the quiet life you've worked so hard to give her. Adrian wanted to argue, wanted to find a hole in her logic. He couldn't. I need to get Emma to school, he said finally, standing up. We can talk about this later. School? Vanessa looked alarmed. You can't take her to school. The photographers, she has a math test. Adrian, my daughter is not missing school because I made a stupid decision at a gala. His voice came out harder than intended. We'll use the service entrance. It'll be fine. It was not fine. The service entrance had 7 photographers camped outside it. They swarmed the moment Adrian and Emma stepped onto the sidewalk, cameras flashing, voices shouting questions that blurred together into white noise. Emma pressed against Adrian's side, her small hand gripping his jacket. She didn't cry. His daughter was tough, but he could feel her trembling. Mr. Cole, is this your daughter? Emma, look over here, sweetie. How does she feel about having a new stepmother? Adrian, are you and Vanessa planning more children? Adrian wrapped his arm around Emma and pushed forward, trying to shield her from the cameras without being aggressive enough to make things worse. It was like walking through a wall of sound and light, every step accompanied by flashes and shouted words. Someone stepped too close. Adrian felt Emma flinch. He stopped walking. Back up, Adrian said quietly. The photographer, young, overeager, didn't listen. Just one photo of the happy family. I said back up. Something in Adrian's voice made the man take a step back. The other photographers sensed the shift in mood and created a small bubble of space. Adrian didn't wait. He scooped Emma into his arms and walked to where his truck was parked, ignoring every question, every camera, every intrusion into their life. Emma buried her face against his neck. I don't like them, Daddy. I know, sweetheart. I'm sorry. Why are they yelling? Because they're rude and don't understand personal space. He got Emma buckled into her car seat, then climbed into the driver's side. 3 photographers pressed against the windows, still shooting photos. Adrian started the engine and pulled out slowly, carefully, giving them time to move. They followed him. 2 cars, maybe 3, staying close as Adrian navigated through morning traffic toward Emma's school. He tried to lose them at a red light, but they ran it. Tried taking side streets, but they anticipated every turn. By the time Adrian reached the elementary school, Emma was crying quietly in the back seat. Hey! Adrian twisted around to look at her. Hey, Em, it's okay. I want to go home. You have your math test, remember? You studied so hard. I don't care about the test. Tears streaked down her cheeks. Those people are scary. Adrian's heart cracked. He unbuckled his seatbelt and climbed into the back, pulling Emma into his arms. She was shaking. I'm sorry, he whispered into her hair. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. Why won't they leave us alone? Because Daddy made a mistake. What mistake? How did he explain this? How did he tell his 6-year-old daughter that he'd lied to strangers and now their quiet life was over? I said something I shouldn't have, Adrian said carefully. And now people are interested in us. But it'll get better. I promise. Emma pulled back enough to look at him with red, puffy eyes. Can we go back to before, when nobody knew who we were? I don't know, baby. Maybe. A knock on the window made them both jump. Adrian looked up, expecting another photographer. Instead, he found Emma's teacher, Miss Rodriguez, peering through the glass with concern written across her face. Adrian rolled down the window. Mr. Cole? Miss Rodriguez glanced at the cars parked nearby. photographers visible inside with long lenses. Is everything all right? We're fine, just having a rough morning. Ms. Rodriguez looked at Emma's tear-stained face and clearly didn't believe him. Would you like to use the staff entrance? It's more private. Adrian could have kissed her. That would be great, thank you. She led them through a side gate that Adrian had never noticed before, through a small courtyard, and into the school through a door marked faculty only. The hallway was blessedly quiet, smelling like craft supplies and floor cleaner. Emma had stopped crying but still held Adrian's hand tightly. I saw the news this morning, Ms. Rodriguez said gently as they walked toward Emma's classroom. Congratulations on your marriage. Adrian's jaw tightened. Thanks. I'm sure this is a difficult adjustment for Emma. If she needs to talk to the counselor, she's fine. Ms. Rodriguez gave him a look that said she thought he was full of it, but was too professional to argue. The offer stands. And Mr. Cole, you might want to call the principal. There were photographers asking questions at the front office this morning about Emma. Adrian stopped walking. What kind of questions? What grade she's in? Whether you attend school events? If there had been any behavioral issues recently? Miss Rodriguez's expression hardened. The principal sent them away, but I don't think they'll stop trying. Anger flooded through Adrian, hot and immediate. They're asking about my daughter? I'm afraid so. Emma tugged on his hand. Daddy, I'm going to be late for morning meeting. Adrian looked down at her, this small person who trusted him to protect her from everything bad in the world. And he'd failed. He'd opened the door to chaos, and now strangers were asking questions about her at school. Go ahead, sweetheart, he said, his voice rough. I'll pick you up at 3. Emma hesitated, looking uncertain. Promise you'll come? I promise. She hugged him quickly, then ran down the hallway to her classroom, her backpack bouncing with each step. Ms. Rodriguez waited until Emma was out of earshot before speaking. Mr. Cole, I don't mean to overstep, but Emma is a wonderful child. If there's anything the school can do to help protect her privacy, just don't let any reporters near her. Adrian's hands clenched into fists. I don't care what credentials they have. Nobody talks to my daughter without my permission. Of course. Adrian left through the staff entrance, stepping back into the morning sunshine with a knot of fury sitting in his chest. The photographers had found the faculty parking lot. They rushed forward as soon as they spotted him. He ignored them, climbing into his truck and driving away without looking back. His phone rang before he'd made it 2 blocks. Vanessa's name appeared on the screen. Adrian answered on speaker. Yeah? Where are you? Driving back from Emma's school. It was a disaster. I heard. I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't fix it. Adrian ran a hand through his hair, exhaustion hitting him like a wave. They were at the school, Vanessa, asking questions about my daughter. Silence. Then quietly, come to my place. What? My building has security, real security. Underground parking that's access controlled. I've already spoken to the management. They're expecting you. She paused. And I think we need to talk about what happens next. We already talked. No, you got angry and left. We need an actual plan. Adrian wanted to argue, wanted to hang up and drive somewhere, anywhere, that wasn't complicated by billion-dollar companies and fake marriages and media circuses. But Emma's tear-stained face kept flashing through his mind. Fine, he said. Send me the address. Vanessa's building was in the kind of neighborhood where the streets were too clean and the coffee shops had names like Artisan Brew Collective. Adrian's truck looked absurd pulling into the underground garage, dwarfed by Mercedes and Teslas, and at least one car he was pretty sure cost more than his house. A security guard checked his ID against a list, then directed him to a private elevator that required a key card to operate. The elevator opened directly into Vanessa's penthouse. Adrian stepped out and immediately felt underdressed. The space was massive, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, modern furniture that looked like it belonged in a museum, art on the walls that might actually be originals. Everything was white and chrome and glass, beautiful and cold. Vanessa appeared from what looked like a kitchen, still wearing the same jeans and sweater from this morning. She looked tired. Coffee? She offered. Sure. She poured 2 cups from an espresso machine that probably cost more than Adrian's monthly mortgage. They sat at a glass dining table that could seat 12, the city sprawling beneath them through the windows. I talked to my lawyer, Vanessa said without preamble. Getting married is actually the simplest solution. Adrian stared into his coffee. You're serious about this? My father is convening the board in 4 hours. If I don't have proof of the marriage by then, they're going to vote me out. Maybe that's not the worst thing. Vanessa's cup hit the table harder than intended. Excuse me? I mean, Adrian searched for the right words. Is it worth all this? The lying, the pretending, dragging my daughter into it? Maybe you should just tell them the truth and lose everything I've built? The company my mother started before she died? Watch my father dismantle it to sell off the pieces? Vanessa's voice shook. That's easy for you to say. You can walk away from this. I can't. You're asking me to commit fraud. I'm asking you to sign a piece of paper that will invalidate in 3 months. It's still fraud. It's survival. Vanessa stood up, pacing to the windows. You don't understand what it's like to have everything you've worked for depend on people's perception of your stability. Whether they think you're emotional, unreliable, too young or too female, or too single to run a company. You're right, Adrian said quietly. I don't understand that. Then trust me when I say this is necessary. Adrian thought about Emma crying in the car, about photographers asking questions at her school, about the way his daughter had looked at him and asked if they could go back to before. If we do this, he said slowly, we do it my way. Vanessa turned to face him. What does that mean? It means Emma comes first, always. We tell her the truth, age-appropriate version, but the truth. No lying to her about why you're suddenly in our lives. Agreed. And when she's with us, we're not putting on a show. No pretending to be in love or playing happy family for cameras. She gets reality, even if the rest of the world doesn't. Vanessa nodded slowly. Okay. And at the end of 3 months, you disappear from her life cleanly. No drawn-out goodbyes. No promises to stay in touch that you won't keep. You leave, and we go back to normal. Something flickered across Vanessa's face, hurt, maybe, or regret. But she nodded again. I understand. Then get your lawyer to draw up whatever we need to sign. Vanessa pulled out her phone immediately, typing rapidly. We can do it this afternoon. The marriage license, a prenup to protect both of us, custody agreements that make it clear you retain all parental rights. Custody agreements? Standard procedure for marriages involving children from previous relationships. It just ensures I have no legal claim to Emma. Vanessa looked up from her phone. I'm not trying to take your daughter, Adrian. I'm trying to save my company. The words should have been reassuring. Instead, they felt cold. Adrian's phone buzzed. A text from the principal at Emma's school. We've had to call campus security. Multiple reporters attempting to access school grounds. Please advise if you'd like Emma released early. Adrian showed Vanessa the message. She read it, her expression hardening. Move in today. What? Today. Right now. Pack whatever you and Emma need immediately, and my team will move the rest tomorrow. Vanessa gestured at the sprawling penthouse. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, full kitchen. The building has a gym, a pool, a playroom for residents' children. Security that actually works. Emma can't go back to your apartment, not with photographers camped outside. This is moving too fast. It's already too fast. We're just catching up. Vanessa's voice gentled. Adrian, I know this isn't what you wanted, but right now your daughter is at a school where reporters are trying to talk to her. Your building is under siege, and in 4 hours, my father is going to try to destroy both of us. You really think they'd vote you out? I think my father has been waiting for an excuse to take control of Sterling Enterprises since my mother died, and I just handed him one. Vanessa looked out at the city, her reflection ghostly in the glass. He never wanted me running the company. Too emotional, he said. Too young. Too much like my mother. Your mother started the company? When she was 25, built it from nothing. My father married into it. Vanessa's jaw tightened. He's been trying to erase her legacy ever since she died, replacing her innovations with his vision, her values with his profits. If he gets control, Sterling Enterprises becomes just another corporate shell. Adrian heard the pain beneath the words. This wasn't just about business. It was about family, legacy, loss. The board meeting is at 2, Vanessa said. Can you be there? As what? My husband. She turned to face him. We'll announce the marriage officially, provide documentation, make it clear this isn't some publicity stunt. Then after, we sign whatever papers your lawyer and mine agree on. I don't have a lawyer. I'll provide one. Independent counsel to protect your interests. Adrian laughed. You've thought of everything. I have to. It's how I survive. Vanessa crossed back to the table, sitting down across from him. I know this is insane. I know I'm asking too much. But Adrian, she met his eyes directly. You jumped in front of cameras to protect a stranger. Let me protect your daughter now. Move in here. Let my security keep the photographers away from Emma. And in 3 months, we both walk away from this mess. The city stretched beyond the windows, indifferent to their chaos. Adrian thought about Emma crying in the back seat, about strangers asking questions at her school, about the impossible choice between protecting his daughter and enabling a lie. One condition, he said finally. Name it. You spend time with Emma. Real time. Not for cameras, not for show. If we're going to disrupt her entire life by moving in here, she deserves to know who you actually are. Vanessa looked surprised. You want me to spend time with your daughter? You're going to be living with her. She's going to get attached no matter what we do. That's how kids work. So instead of being some mysterious adult she barely knows, you actually let her get to know you. I don't know anything about 6-year-olds. You'll learn. Vanessa was quiet for a long moment. And after 3 months? When I leave? That's my problem, not yours. It feels cruel to let her care and then disappear. Life is cruel sometimes. She'll survive. Adrian stood up, draining the last of his coffee. Do we have a deal? Vanessa studied him with an expression he couldn't read. Then she extended her hand across the table. Deal. They shook on it. Her hand was smaller than his, but her grip was firm. Adrian's phone buzzed again. Another message from the school. Campus security has situation under control, but recommend alternative pickup arrangements. Please confirm. I need to get Emma, Adrian said. I'll come with you. That's not necessary. Yes, it is. Vanessa was already grabbing her phone and keys. If we're doing this, we're doing it together. Besides, a wry smile touched her lips. I should probably meet your daughter properly before she moves into my house. They took Vanessa's car, a sleek black SUV with tinted windows and a driver who appeared silently from somewhere in the building. Adrian felt ridiculous climbing into the back seat, but he had to admit the privacy glass made the photographers irrelevant. Emma's school looked like a war zone when they arrived. At least 20 media vans were parked along the street, reporters standing in clusters, campus security guards forming a perimeter around the entrance. This is insane, Adrian muttered. Vanessa was already texting someone. I'm calling my head of security. He'll coordinate with the school to get Emma out safely. She'll be terrified. Then we make sure she's not alone. 10 minutes later, a plan was in place. School security would bring Emma to the staff entrance. Adrian and Vanessa would meet her there, avoiding the main crowd entirely. It almost worked. Emma appeared in the doorway with Miss Rodriguez, her backpack dragging on the ground, her face uncertain. When she saw Adrian, relief flooded her expression. Daddy! She ran to him, and Adrian scooped her up, holding her tight. Hey, sweetheart. You okay? There were so many people. Emma's voice was small against his shoulder. They were yelling questions, and Mr. Martinez had to tell them to go away. I'm sorry, Em. Emma pulled back enough to notice Vanessa standing nearby. You came too? I wanted to make sure you were okay, Vanessa said. Are we going home? Adrian and Vanessa exchanged glances. Actually, Adrian said carefully, we need to talk about that. They drove back to Adrian's apartment just long enough to pack essentials, clothes, Emma's stuffed animals, the rock collection that apparently couldn't be left behind. Emma watched the process with growing confusion. Why are we bringing everything? She asked. Adrian knelt down to her level. Remember how I told you about the pretend? With Vanessa? Emma nodded. Well, to make the pretend work, we need to stay at Vanessa's place for a little while, just until all the cameras go away. How long? A few months. Emma's eyes went wide. Can I bring my rocks? Yes, sweetheart, you can bring your rocks. And Mr. Elephant? Mr. Elephant especially. That seemed to satisfy her. Emma ran to her room to start packing while Adrian and Vanessa worked on the rest. She's handling this better than I expected, Vanessa observed, folding one of Emma's shirts. She doesn't understand what's happening yet. Adrian grabbed another armful of clothes. When she does, it's going to hit harder. We'll deal with it together. The words should have felt reassuring. Instead, they felt like another promise neither of them could keep. They finished packing in under an hour. 2 suitcases, 3 boxes, and Emma's insistence on carrying Mr. Elephant herself. The driver loaded everything into the SUV while Emma pressed her face against the window, watching her building disappear behind them. "Will my friends know where I went?" she asked quietly. "We'll tell them you're staying somewhere else for a while," Adrian said. "What about Mrs. Patterson?" "I already called her." Emma was silent for the rest of the drive, clutching Mr. Elephant and staring out at the city passing by. Vanessa's penthouse looked different with Emma's things scattered across it. The rock collection ended up on the coffee table. Mr. Elephant claimed the corner of the white leather couch. Emma's backpack dropped in the middle of the pristine entryway. Emma stood in the center of the living room, turning in slow circles. "It's really big," she said finally. "Too big?" Vanessa asked. Emma considered this seriously. "Maybe. Where do I sleep?" Vanessa led them down a hallway to a bedroom that was easily twice the size of Emma's room at the apartment. Floor-to-ceiling windows, an ensuite bathroom, a queen-size bed that Emma immediately tested by jumping on it. "Emma," Adrian warned. But Vanessa was smiling. "It's okay. Let her explore." Emma bounced twice more, then scrambled down to investigate the closet. "Daddy, there's a bathroom attached." "I see that. Can I take a bath in the big tub?" "After dinner, maybe." Emma ran back out to the living room, discovering the roof access that led to the pool. "Daddy, the pool is real!" Adrian followed her outside, finding Emma standing at the edge of the infinity pool, staring at the city spread below them. "This is like flying," she whispered. Vanessa appeared beside them, her expression soft. "Do you want to swim?" "Can I?" "It's April," Adrian said. "The water's probably freezing." "It's heated," Vanessa said. "Year-round." Emma looked at Adrian with an expression of such hope that he couldn't say no. "Fine. But just for a little while." Emma cheered and ran back inside to find her swimsuit in the boxes they'd brought. Adrian and Vanessa stood by the pool. The city noise muted this high up, the afternoon sun warm on their faces. "Thank you," Vanessa said quietly. "For what?" "For trusting me with this." With her. Adrian watched Emma through the glass walls, seeing her dig through boxes with determined focus. "Don't thank me yet. You're about to learn that 6-year-olds have infinite energy and questionable judgment." Vanessa laughed. It was the first genuine laugh he'd heard from her, and it transformed her face completely. Emma found her swimsuit, pink with purple dolphins, and demanded Vanessa help her change because the bathroom was too fancy, and she didn't want to break anything. 20 minutes later, Emma was in the pool, splashing and laughing while Adrian and Vanessa sat on the edge with their feet in the water. "She's fearless," Vanessa observed, watching Emma attempt an underwater handstand. "She gets that from her mother." The words came out before Adrian could stop them. Vanessa glanced at him. "You don't talk about her much." "Not much to say. She left when Emma was 2. Decided motherhood wasn't for her." Adrian's jaw tightened. "I haven't heard from her since." "I'm sorry." "Don't be. Emma's better off without someone who didn't want to be here." Emma surfaced, gasping and triumphant. "Did you see? I did it." "I saw, sweetheart. That was great." She dove under again, her small body visible through the clear water. "She looks like you," Vanessa said. "Yeah, everyone says that." "It's a compliment." Adrian looked at Vanessa, surprised. She was watching Emma with something gentle in her expression. All the corporate ice melted away. "You're good with her," Adrian said. "I'm winging it." "So is everyone. That's all parenting is." Emma climbed out of the pool, shivering despite the heated water. Vanessa immediately wrapped her in a towel, rubbing her arms to warm her up. "Can we have pizza for dinner?" Emma asked through chattering teeth. "I don't know if Vanessa has—" "Pizza sounds perfect," Vanessa interrupted. "What kind do you like?" "Cheese? Just cheese? Daddy always tries to make me eat vegetables, but I don't like green things." "Green things are important, Em." "But they're gross," Vanessa smiled. What if we get one cheese pizza and one with vegetables, and you just have to try one bite of the vegetable one? Emma considered this with the seriousness of a contract negotiation. One small bite? Very small. Okay, deal. They ordered pizza. Emma changed into pajamas and built a fort out of couch cushions while they waited. When the food arrived, they ate sitting on the floor of Vanessa's pristine living room, Emma chattering about her math test and how Mateo had gotten in trouble for putting glue in Sarah's hair. Adrian watched Vanessa listen with genuine interest, asking questions, laughing at Emma's dramatic retelling of classroom politics. This was supposed to be fake, temporary, a business arrangement. So why did it feel real? After dinner, Emma crashed hard, exhausted from the day's chaos. Adrian carried her to the new bedroom, tucking her in with Mr. Elephant. "Daddy?" Emma's voice was sleepy. "Is Vanessa nice?" "Yes, sweetheart, she's nice." "Good. I like her." Adrian's chest tightened. "Don't get too attached, okay? This is just temporary." But Emma was already asleep. He found Vanessa in the kitchen, loading the dishwasher with the kind of careful precision that suggested she didn't use it often. "She's asleep," Adrian said. "Already?" "It's been a long day." Vanessa closed the dishwasher, leaning against the counter. "The board meeting is in an hour. We should get ready." "Right, the fake marriage we're about to make real." Having second thoughts? Adrian thought about Emma asking if Vanessa was nice, about his daughter's rocks on the coffee table, about the way Vanessa had smiled watching Emma swim. "Too late for second thoughts," he said. Vanessa's lawyer arrived 30 minutes later with enough paperwork to build a small fort. Prenuptial agreements, custody documentation, the marriage license itself. Adrian read through everything twice while Vanessa paced nervously. "This protects you," the lawyer, a sharp woman named Patricia, explained. "Full custody remains with you. Ms. Sterling has no legal claim to Emma. Your business assets remain separate, and the divorce terms are clearly outlined. And if something goes wrong? Wrong how? If this blows up, if people figure out we're lying." Patricia exchanged glances with Vanessa. "That's a legal gray area. Marriage entered under false pretenses can potentially be annulled, but since you're both consenting adults, and there's no fraud in the traditional sense," she shrugged. "It's complicated." "Everything about this is complicated," Adrian muttered. He signed anyway. Every page, every initial, every acknowledgement that he was legally binding himself to a woman he'd known for less than 24 hours. Vanessa signed too, her signature fast and confident. "Congratulations," Patricia said dryly. "You're married." It didn't feel real. It felt like playing pretend, like Emma's games except with legal consequences. They left for the board meeting at exactly 1:30. Vanessa had changed into a sharp business suit, her hair pulled back, the Ice Queen armor firmly in place. Adrian wore the same suit he'd worn to the gala. It felt like a costume. "Nervous?" Vanessa asked in the elevator down. "Terrified." "Me too." That helped somehow. The Sterling Enterprises building was downtown, a glass tower that screamed money and power. They entered through a private entrance, avoiding the media that had already gathered outside. The boardroom was on the 40th floor. 12 people sat around a massive table, their expressions ranging from curious to hostile. Richard Sterling sat at the head, his silver hair perfect, his suit probably worth more than Adrian's truck. He looked at Adrian like something he'd scraped off his shoe. "So," Richard said, "this is the husband." Adrian extended his hand. "Adrian Cole. Nice to meet you." Richard ignored the hand. "Let's skip the pleasantries. You and my daughter are claiming to be married?" "We are married," Vanessa said firmly, placing the marriage license on the table. "As of this afternoon." Murmurs rippled around the room. One board member, an older woman with kind eyes, leaned forward. "Vanessa, we're happy you found companionship. But you can understand our concern. This is very sudden." "We've been seeing each other quietly for months," Vanessa lied smoothly. "The gala was simply when it became public." Richard laughed. It wasn't a pleasant sound. "And I'm supposed to believe my daughter conducted a secret relationship without anyone knowing, without a single photographer catching you together? We were careful." "Or you're lying." Richard picked up the marriage license, examining it. "This was filed today. We decided to make it official, after last night." "How convenient." Richard tossed the paper back down. Here's what I think happened. You panicked at the gala, grabbed the nearest available man, and now you're scrambling to make it look real before the board realizes what a catastrophe this is. With all due respect, Adrian said quietly, you don't know what you're talking about. Every eye in the room turned to him. Richard's expression went cold. Excuse me? Your daughter is the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company. She's brilliant, capable, and doesn't need my help making her look stable. Adrian leaned forward. But since you're questioning our relationship, let me be clear. I married Vanessa because I love her, not for publicity, not for money, and certainly not because she asked me to. We're together because we choose to be. Everything else is none of your business. The silence was deafening. Then the older woman smiled. Well said, Mr. Cole. Richard's jaw worked like he was grinding his teeth. This proves nothing. It proves they're married, another board member said, which was your entire complaint about Vanessa's stability. It proves they signed a paper. What more do you want? Vanessa's voice was sharp. Should we live stream our private life, stage romantic gestures for your approval? I want the truth. The truth is I'm tired of proving myself to you. Vanessa stood, her hands planted on the table. I've increased Sterling's revenue by 40% in 3 years. I've secured contracts you said were impossible. I've done everything you asked and more. But it's never enough, is it? Because I'm not the son you wanted. I'm not Mom. Richard's face flushed. Don't. She built this company, her vision, her values, her work, and you've spent every year since she died trying to erase that. Trying to erase her. That's not fair. Neither is forcing me to defend my personal life to keep a position I've earned 10 times over. Vanessa's voice shook. So here's the deal. You drop this vendetta, or I walk. And I take every client relationship, every innovation, every single thing that makes Sterling valuable with me. The room erupted, board members arguing, voices overlapping, chaos breaking loose. Adrian watched Vanessa stand her ground, her chin raised, refusing to back down. And he realized something that terrified him. He was proud of her. The vote happened 30 minutes later, 8-4 in Vanessa's favor, with 2 abstentions. She kept her position. Richard stormed out without another word. In the elevator down, Vanessa finally let herself shake. That was brutal, she whispered. You were amazing. I almost threw up. Adrian laughed despite everything. You hit it well. Vanessa looked at him, and something in her expression made Adrian's breath catch. Thank you for what you said up there about loving me. I was just selling the story. I know. She smiled, but it looked sad. But thank you anyway. They rode the rest of the way in silence. When they got back to the penthouse, Emma was awake, sitting on the couch with one of Vanessa's throw pillows and watching cartoons. You're back! She jumped up. Can we make cookies? Adrian blinked. It's 8 o'clock at night. So? Vanessa has a fancy oven. I saw it. Vanessa looked at Adrian. Adrian shrugged. Why not? Vanessa said. I could use something normal right now. So they made cookies at 8 p.m. on a Tuesday. Emma directed the process with the authority of a general. Vanessa measured ingredients with corporate precision, and Adrian tried not to burn anything. Flour ended up everywhere. Emma got chocolate chips in her hair. Vanessa laughed when the mixer splattered batter across her expensive suit jacket. And for a moment, just a moment, it felt like they were actually a family. Adrian caught himself thinking it and immediately pushed the thought away. This was fake, temporary, 3 months and done. But watching Emma show Vanessa how to make the perfect cookie shape, seeing Vanessa's genuine smile, hearing laughter fill the too big penthouse. Adrian wondered if he'd just made the biggest mistake of his life, or if maybe, somehow, he'd accidentally done something right. The cookies were still warm when Emma fell asleep on the couch, chocolate smudged across her cheek, her head resting against Vanessa's shoulder. Adrian watched from the kitchen doorway, a dish towel in his hands, trying to reconcile the image with everything he knew about the Ice Queen CEO. Vanessa sat perfectly still, like she was afraid any movement might wake Emma. Her expensive suit jacket was draped over the back of the couch, forgotten. Flour still dusted her sleeve. I should move her, Adrian said quietly, crossing the room. It's okay. Vanessa's voice was barely a whisper. She's comfortable. She's drooling on your shirt. I've survived worse in boardrooms. Adrian carefully lifted Emma, who murmured something incoherent about dinosaurs before settling against his chest. He carried her to the bedroom, tucking her in beside Mr. Elephant. When he returned to the living room, Vanessa was staring at the cookie mess like she wasn't quite sure how it had happened. "I've never baked before," she said. "Never?" "My mother tried to teach me once. I was 8, managed to set off the smoke alarm making brownies." Vanessa smiled faintly. "My father said it was proof I should focus on business instead of domestic pursuits." "Your father sounds like a piece of work." "That's putting it kindly." Vanessa started gathering dirty mixing bowls. "He wasn't always like that. Before my mother died, he was different, softer. But after—" She stopped, her hand stilling over the sink. He blamed her for working too hard, said the stress killed her. Then he turned around and demanded I work twice as hard to prove I deserved her legacy. Adrian took the bowls from her, rinsing them under the faucet. "How old were you when she died?" 16, breast cancer, stage 4 by the time they caught it. Vanessa's voice went flat. She kept working through treatment, said Sterling Enterprises was her baby too, and she couldn't abandon it. "I'm sorry." "Everyone's sorry. Doesn't change anything." They cleaned in silence, the only sound the running water and the distant hum of the city outside. When the kitchen was finally restored to its pristine state, Vanessa poured 2 glasses of wine without asking if Adrian wanted one. He took it anyway. They sat at the glass dining table, the city lights spread below them like scattered stars. "This is weird," Adrian said. "Which part? The fake marriage, the instant family, or the fact that we're drinking wine at 10 p.m. on a Tuesday?" "All of it." Vanessa laughed quietly. "Yeah, it's pretty weird." "Your stock went up today. I saw it on the news. 18%. Apparently the market loves a stable CEO with a family." She swirled the wine in her glass. "It's working exactly like I planned." "Great. You don't sound happy about it." Adrian stared at the wine. "Emma asked me tonight if you were going to be her new mom." Vanessa went very still. "What did you say?" "I told her you were a friend helping us out, that this was temporary." And she asked how long temporary was. Adrian's grip tightened on the glass. "I didn't have a good answer." 3 months, that's what we agreed." "I know what we agreed. But she's 6, Vanessa. 3 months might as well be forever to her." "What do you want me to do? Keep my distance? Stop baking cookies with her?" "I don't know." Adrian rubbed his face. "Maybe. This is getting complicated faster than I expected." Vanessa set down her wine glass carefully. "Do you want out? We can end this now. I'll figure something else out." "And then what? The photographers go away? Your father backs down? My daughter gets her normal life back?" Adrian shook his head. "We're in it now. Might as well see it through." "That's not exactly a ringing endorsement." "What do you want me to say? That I'm thrilled to be legally married to someone I barely know? That I love having my daughter's face on gossip websites?" "No," Vanessa said quietly. "I suppose not." The silence stretched between them, uncomfortable and heavy. Adrian's phone buzzed, breaking the tension. A text from his CFO. "Board meeting tomorrow, 8 a.m. They want to discuss the media attention and how it affects company image." "Problems?" Vanessa asked. "My board wants to talk about us too. Apparently construction companies don't usually make entertainment news." "Welcome to my world." Adrian typed a quick response confirming the meeting. "How do you deal with this? The constant scrutiny?" "Poorly." Vanessa stood, walking to the windows. "I hired a publicist when I was 23. She taught me how to smile for cameras, what to say in interviews, how to make my personal life look perfect, even when it was falling apart. I've had 3 public relationships since then, all disasters, all analyzed by strangers who think they know me." "Why keep doing it?" "Because the alternative is worse. If I'm private, they make up stories anyway. At least this way I control the narrative." She pressed her palm against the glass. "Or I did, until you turned it into the biggest story of the year." "Still mad about that?" "No." Vanessa glanced back at him. "Weirdly, no. You jumped into a disaster to help me. Most people would have walked away. I'm starting to think walking away would have been smarter. Probably. But too late now." Adrian joined her at the window, looking down at the city that suddenly felt too interested in his life. Somewhere down there, photographers were editing photos of him and Emma. Reporters were writing stories about their relationship. Strangers were forming opinions about people they'd never met. "I hate this," he said. "I know. Emma deserves better. She has you. That's better than most kids get." Adrian looked at Vanessa, surprised by the bitterness in her voice. "Rough childhood? Boarding schools and business dinners? My father grooming me to take over Sterling Enterprises before I could drive." Vanessa's reflection in the glass looked tired. "I learned to read financial statements before I learned to ride a bike." "That's depressing." "That's legacy." She turned away from the window. "I should let you get some sleep. Tomorrow's going to be long." "Vanessa, it's fine, Adrian, really." She managed a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Welcome to the family business of pretending everything's perfect." She disappeared down the hallway to her bedroom before Adrian could respond. He stood alone in the living room, surrounded by the evidence of their fake life. Emma's rocks on the coffee table, dishes from the cookies they'd baked, 2 wine glasses that suggested intimacy they didn't actually have. His phone buzzed again. This time, it was a news alert. Breaking. Mystery billionaire Adrian Cole's business empire revealed. Sources say marriage to Vanessa Sterling could create construction monopoly. Adrian read the article with growing disbelief. They dug up everything, every contract Cole Construction had ever signed, every property development, every business partnership. Someone had leaked internal documents showing his net worth. They'd even found photos of his projects and were analyzing them for clues about his personality. This was exactly what he'd spent years avoiding. He forwarded the article to Vanessa with a single word. "Great." Her response came immediately. "Told you they wouldn't leave you alone." Adrian typed, "This is insane. This is Tuesday. Wait until they start following Emma." The words hit like a punch. Adrian immediately walked to Emma's bedroom, checking on her like a physical confirmation could protect her from digital invasion. She was still asleep, peaceful and unaware. For now. His phone rang. Adrian stepped into the hallway before answering. "Mr. Cole?" An unfamiliar voice, female, professional. "This is Jennifer Santos from Metropolitan Magazine. I'm working on a feature about you and Miss Sterling, and I'd love to get your perspective." Adrian hung up. The phone rang again immediately. Different number. He turned it off entirely. When Adrian finally made it to the guest bedroom Vanessa had prepared for him, he found a note on the pillow written in precise handwriting. "Patricia sent over revised custody documents. They're on the kitchen counter if you want to review them. Also, thank you for today. For the board meeting. You didn't have to do that. V." Adrian read it twice, then folded it carefully and set it on the nightstand. He didn't sleep well. Morning came too early. Emma woke him at 6:30 by jumping on his bed, announcing that Vanessa's shower had 17 different settings and asking if they could try all of them. "Absolutely not," Adrian mumbled into his pillow. "But Daddy, 17 is too many shower settings for anyone. Pick one and stick with it." Emma considered this. "Can I pick the one that makes rainbows?" "Showers don't make rainbows, sweetheart." "This one does. Come see." Adrian let himself be dragged to the bathroom, where Emma demonstrated that yes, Vanessa's ridiculous luxury shower did somehow create rainbow effects through the glass door when the water hit the lights at certain angles. "That's the most unnecessary thing I've ever seen," Adrian said. Emma's face fell. "You don't like it?" "I didn't say that." "So I can use the rainbow shower?" Adrian sighed. "Fine, but only for 10 minutes. Emma threw her arms around his waist. "You're the best daddy." She disappeared into the bathroom while Adrian went to find coffee and discovered Vanessa already in the kitchen, dressed for business, typing rapidly on her laptop. "Morning," Adrian said. Vanessa looked up, startled. "You're awake early. Emma wanted to show me your shower." "Ah, the rainbow setting. You know about that?" "The designer was very proud of it, said it would create a spa-like experience." Vanessa smiled slightly. "I've never actually used it. Emma's in there now, probably using all the hot water." "It's fine. I was up at 5 anyway." Adrian poured coffee from the pot Vanessa had already made. "Couldn't sleep?" "Never can before big media days," she gestured at her laptop. "We have 4 interview requests, 6 photo op invitations, and someone from Sterling's PR team wants to stage a romantic dinner for the paparazzi." "Absolutely not." "That's what I told them." Vanessa closed the laptop. But we do need to make some public appearances, controlled ones, on our terms. Such as, there's a charity luncheon on Friday, very respectable, lots of business contacts, minimal media presence. We show up together, smile for a few photos, prove we're a functional couple. And Emma? School day. She stays out of it entirely. Adrian considered this while drinking his coffee. What do I wear to a charity luncheon? The suit from the gala works, just don't look like you'd rather be anywhere else. I will be wishing I was anywhere else. Then act better than I did in the shower. Vanessa's eyes glinted with humor. Pretend you're enjoying my company. That's going to require Oscar-level performance. She threw a dish towel at him. The week developed a strange rhythm. Adrian went to his office for a few hours each day, fielding questions from his board about the media attention while trying to maintain normal business operations. Vanessa worked from home most days, her laptop a permanent fixture at the dining table. And Emma went to school via secure car service, blissfully unaware of the photographers who tried and failed to follow them each morning. In the evenings, they fell into an accidental routine. Dinner together, usually something simple because none of them were great cooks. Emma's homework at the kitchen table while Adrian and Vanessa answered emails, bath time, bedtime stories, then awkward adult conversation over wine while pretending their situation was normal. It wasn't normal, but it was becoming familiar. On Thursday evening, Adrian found Vanessa on the roof deck, staring at the city with a glass of wine and an expression that looked like she was solving complex equations in her head. You okay? He asked. Vanessa jumped slightly. Fine, just thinking. About? The luncheon tomorrow. My father will be there. Ah, he's going to make a scene. I know him. Vanessa's grip tightened on the wine glass. He can't challenge me in the boardroom anymore, so he'll do it publicly. Make subtle comments, undermine me in front of investors. Then we don't go. We have to go. Sterling Enterprises has sponsored this event for 15 years. If I skip it, people will think I'm hiding. Adrian leaned against the railing beside her. What do you need from me? I don't know. Moral support? Proof that I'm not the unstable mess my father claims I am? She laughed without humor. A time machine to go back and not panic at the gala? The time machine's on back order. You're stuck with moral support. That got a real smile. You're handling this better than I expected. What, the fake marriage, the media circus, or living with someone I barely know? All of it. Adrian thought about Emma asking when Vanessa would leave, about the way his daughter had started setting the table for 3 automatically, about how the penthouse didn't feel quite as cold anymore with their things scattered around it. I'm not handling it, he admitted. I'm just surviving day by day. That's all any of us can do. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the city lights flicker in the darkness. Somewhere down there, people were living normal lives, going to dinner, watching TV, not pretending to be married for business purposes. Adrian envied them. I heard Emma call you Nessa yesterday, he said. Vanessa's expression softened. She asked if she could, said Vanessa was too long for regular use. And you said yes? She's 6 and she asked politely. What was I supposed to say? You could have maintained distance, kept it formal. Is that what you want? Adrian didn't know what he wanted anymore. The boundaries he'd set felt increasingly arbitrary. Just don't hurt her when this ends. I'll try not to. That's not good enough. Vanessa turned to face him fully. Then what do you want from me, Adrian? I'm doing everything you asked. I spend time with Emma. I keep the photographers away. I'm providing security and stability. But you keep acting like I'm the villain here. Because in 3 months, you are. When you disappear and Emma asks why, I'm the one who has to explain it. Then maybe you should have thought about that before agreeing to this. The words hung between them, sharp and accusing. Adrian felt his temper rise. I agreed to protect my daughter from the mess I created. You're the one who turned it into a legal contract. Because that's how the real world works. You don't get to have your privacy back by just wishing for it. You make deals, you accept consequences, you survive. Is that what you call this, surviving? What would you call it? A disaster that's going to hurt everyone involved. Vanessa's jaw tightened. Then leave. The door's right there. Take Emma and go back to your apartment and deal with the photographers yourself. You know I can't do that. Then stop blaming me for the situation we're both stuck in. A small voice from the doorway made them both freeze. Are you fighting? Emma stood in her pajamas, clutching Mr. Elephant, her eyes wide with worry. Adrian felt his heart sink. Hey, sweetheart. We were just talking. It sounded like yelling. We were talking loudly. That's different. Emma didn't look convinced. She walked over to Vanessa, tugging on her sleeve. Are you mad at Daddy? Vanessa crouched down to Emma's level. No, honey, we were just discussing grown-up stuff. Sometimes grown-ups disagree. My friend Mateo's parents fight all the time, then his dad moved out. The words hit like a sledgehammer. Vanessa's expression crumbled. Daddy's not moving out, Adrian said firmly, crossing to them. Nobody's going anywhere. Emma looked between them uncertainly. Promise? Adrian glanced at Vanessa, seeing his own guilt reflected in her face. Promise, they said together. Emma seemed satisfied with this. Can I have juice? It's almost bedtime. Please? The fancy kind Nessa bought? Vanessa stood quickly. I'll get it. She disappeared into the kitchen, moving with the kind of sharp efficiency that suggested she was barely holding herself together. Adrian knelt beside Emma. You okay, sweetheart? I don't like when you fight. I know. I'm sorry. Is it because of me? What? No. Why would you think that? Emma twisted Mr. Elephant's ear. Because you didn't fight before I came to live here. Maybe I'm making everything bad. Adrian pulled her into a hug, his chest aching. You make everything better, Em. Always. The fighting has nothing to do with you. Then why were you yelling? Because sometimes grown-ups are stressed and they take it out on each other. It's not right, but it happens. Do you like Nessa? The question caught him off guard. Of course I like her. But do you like her? Like how Prince Philip likes Aurora? Adrian had watched Sleeping Beauty enough times to know this was dangerous territory. It's complicated. That's what grown-ups always say when they don't want to answer. You're too smart for 6. Emma smiled slightly. I know. Vanessa returned with apple juice in a plastic cup. Emma took it and immediately demanded a bedtime story, specifying that both Adrian and Vanessa had to participate. I don't know any bedtime stories, Vanessa protested. Then Daddy can read and you can do the voices. I'm not good at voices. Everybody can do voices. You just try. So they ended up in Emma's room, Adrian reading from a book about dragons, while Vanessa attempted to voice different characters with varying degrees of success. Emma laughed every time Vanessa's dragon voice cracked. By the time the story finished, Emma was yawning. Night, Daddy, she mumbled. Night, Nessa. Good night, sweetheart. Love you. Love you too. Emma looked at Vanessa expectantly. Vanessa froze, clearly not expecting this. Good night, Emma. Emma's face fell slightly, but she didn't push. She curled around Mr. Elephant and closed her eyes. Adrian and Vanessa retreated to the hallway, pulling the door mostly closed. She wanted you to say it back, Adrian said quietly. I know. Vanessa's voice was strained. But that would be a lie? A promise I can't keep. They stood in the dimly lit hallway, the weight of unspoken things pressing down. I'm sorry, Vanessa said finally, for what I said on the roof. You didn't deserve that. I'm sorry too. This is hard for both of us. Yeah, she wrapped her arms around herself. I should go prepare for tomorrow. Vanessa. It's fine, Adrian, really. She offered a tired smile. See you in the morning. She disappeared into her bedroom, closing the door with a soft click. Adrian stood alone in the hallway, listening to the too quiet penthouse, wondering how a fake marriage had developed real problems so quickly. The charity luncheon was exactly as awful as Adrian had anticipated. The venue was a historic hotel with the kind of old money elegance that made Adrian's suit feel cheap despite it being perfectly fine. Vanessa had insisted they arrive together, stepping out of her car to face a wall of photographers that made the gala look like a small gathering. Smile, Vanessa muttered through her teeth as flashes exploded around them. Adrian smiled. It felt like showing teeth to predators. Vanessa, over here! Adrian, how's married life? Where's your daughter? Are you planning a family? Any comment on Richard Sterling's statement? That made Vanessa stumble slightly. Adrian steadied her with a hand on her elbow. What statement? She asked under her breath. No idea. They made it inside the hotel, where a coordinator immediately descended with clipboards and schedules. Their table was near the front, surrounded by tech CEOs, venture capitalists, and the kind of wealthy philanthropists who treated charity like a competitive sport. Richard Sterling sat 3 tables away, watching them with an expression that promised trouble. "He's planning something," Vanessa whispered. "We'll handle it." "You don't know him like I do." The luncheon proceeded with agonizing slowness. Speeches about charitable contributions, awards for generous donors, networking conversation that was really just business deals disguised as small talk. Adrian sat through it all, painfully aware of every eye that tracked their movements, every whispered conversation that stopped when he looked over, every photograph taken without permission. Vanessa played her part perfectly. The poised CEO, the devoted wife, the picture of stability. She smiled, laughed at appropriate moments, touched Adrian's arm in ways that suggested intimacy without overdoing it. It was a performance, but it was a good one. Until Richard stood up to make a toast. "If I could have everyone's attention," Richard said, his voice carrying across the room with practiced authority. "I want to take a moment to acknowledge my daughter, Vanessa, and her new husband, Adrian." Polite applause. Vanessa's hand tightened on her water glass. "Marriage is a beautiful thing," Richard continued, his smile not reaching his eyes. "It represents commitment, partnership, trust, all qualities essential in business as well as personal life." Adrian felt the trap closing but couldn't see the shape of it yet. "Which is why I'm so delighted that Vanessa has finally found someone willing to commit to her long term." Richard raised his glass. "After so many failed engagements, it's wonderful to see her settled. Here's hoping this one lasts." The room went silent. Several people coughed awkwardly. Others stared at their plates. Vanessa's face went pale, then flushed with humiliation and rage. Adrian stood before he realized he'd made the decision. "If I could add to that toast," he said, his voice carrying despite not being loud. "I want to thank Richard for his kind words, and for demonstrating so clearly why Vanessa is 10 times the person he'll ever be." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Richard's expression turned dangerous. "Excuse me? You heard me?" Adrian kept his tone conversational, but his eyes hard. "Vanessa has built Sterling Enterprises into something her mother would be proud of. She's brilliant, capable, and doesn't need validation from someone who measures worth in stock prices and public perception." "You don't know what you're talking about. I know she's proven herself 100 times over while you've done nothing but tear her down. I know she works 16-hour days to maintain a legacy that should be celebrated, not used as a weapon against her. And I know that if your dead wife could see how you've treated your daughter, she'd be ashamed." The room detonated into shocked murmurs. Richard's face went purple. "How dare you?" "I dare because someone needs to." Adrian looked around the room, meeting eyes with the business leaders and investors watching the drama unfold. "Vanessa Sterling is the best CEO I've ever worked with. She's ethical, innovative, and actually cares about the people her company employs. If that's not worth your investment, then frankly, you don't deserve her talent." He sat down. Silence. Then someone started clapping. The venture capitalist at the next table over, a woman Adrian vaguely recognized from business magazines. Others joined in, slowly at first, then building into genuine applause. Richard stood frozen, his toast forgotten, his humiliation complete. He stormed out of the luncheon without another word. Vanessa sat perfectly still beside Adrian, staring at her plate like it might hold answers. "Was that okay?" Adrian asked quietly. "You just destroyed my relationship with my father in front of 200 people. Your relationship was already destroyed. You didn't have to publicly humiliate him. He publicly humiliated you first." Vanessa finally looked at him, and Adrian saw tears gathering in her eyes that she was fighting desperately not to shed. "Nobody's ever defended me like that before." "Then you've been surrounded by the wrong people." A waiter appeared to refill their water glasses, breaking the moment. The luncheon resumed around them, conversations picking back up with renewed energy as people processed what they'd just witnessed. Adrian's phone buzzed continuously in his pocket, probably messages about the scene he'd just caused. He ignored them. "We should leave," Vanessa said, "before this gets worse. Are you okay to drive?" "I didn't drive." I'm never okay to drive after these things. They left through a side exit, avoiding the main photographer gauntlet, but still catching enough cameras to ensure the confrontation would be tomorrow's headline. The car service picked them up in silence. Vanessa stared out the window during the entire drive home, her jaw tight, her hands clenched in her lap. When they reached the penthouse, she went straight to her bedroom without a word. Adrian stood in the living room, unsure whether to follow or give her space. Emma was still at school. The penthouse felt cavernous and empty. His phone rang. His CFO. "Tell me you didn't just tell Richard Sterling his dead wife would be ashamed of him," Marcus said without preamble. "I told him that." "Adrian, what the hell were you thinking?" "I was thinking he's an abusive father who uses grief as an excuse to control his daughter. He's also one of the most powerful men in the industry. He could destroy you with a phone call." "Let him try." Marcus made a frustrated sound. "Your board is furious. They think you're damaging the company's reputation. By standing up to a bully? By making us look unstable. First the surprise marriage, now public feuds with business partners. Richard Sterling isn't our partner. He could have been. We've been trying to land a Sterling contract for 3 years. Adrian's grip tightened on the phone. "Is that what this is about? You're mad I cost us a potential contract? I'm mad you're letting your personal life destroy professional opportunities. Then maybe you should find a new CEO. Marcus went quiet. "You don't mean that." "Don't I? Because right now I'm tired of people telling me how to live my life to protect their interests." "Adrian." He hung up. The penthouse felt even emptier. Adrian walked to Vanessa's closed bedroom door, raising his hand to knock, then lowering it. What was he supposed to say? Sorry for defending you? Sorry for making your life more complicated? He was turning away when the door opened. Vanessa stood there, makeup smudged, eyes red. "Were you going to knock or just stand there?" "I wasn't sure you wanted to talk." "I don't, but we probably should." She stepped aside. "Come in." Adrian had never been in Vanessa's bedroom before. It was as pristine as the rest of the penthouse, everything white and minimalist, almost clinical. No personal items visible except a photo on the nightstand of a woman who looked like an older version of Vanessa. "Your mother?" Adrian asked. "Yeah." Vanessa sat on the edge of the bed, looking small despite the expensive furniture. "She died in this room. Well, the hospital first, but she came home at the end. Wanted to be somewhere familiar. I'm sorry." "Everyone's sorry." She wiped at her eyes impatiently. "You shouldn't have done that. At the luncheon." "You said that already." "Because you shouldn't have. Do you have any idea what you've started? My father will retaliate. He'll go after your company, your reputation, maybe even try to dig up dirt on Emma's mother. I don't care. You should care. Why?" Adrian sat beside her on the bed, close enough that their shoulders almost touched. "Why should I care what your father thinks? He's cruel, manipulative, and he spent years making you believe you're not good enough. Someone needed to tell him to stop. But not you, not my fake husband who's only here for 3 months. The words stung more than Adrian expected. "Is that what I am? Just a contract employee?" "That's what we agreed on. Before I knew you. Before Emma started calling you Nessa and asking if you'll still visit after you leave." Vanessa's breath caught. "She asked that?" "Last night, while you were getting her juice." "What did you tell her?" "I lied and said yes." They sat in silence, the weight of complicated feelings pressing down. "I can't do this," Vanessa whispered. "Do what?" "Pretend this doesn't matter. Pretend I don't care what happens to you and Emma when this ends." She turned to face him, tears streaming down her face now despite her efforts. "I know the deal. 3 months, clean break, everyone walks away. But I don't know how to walk away from her, Adrian. She's 6 and she trusts me and she laughs at my terrible dragon voice and—" Her voice broke. Adrian pulled her into a hug without thinking. Vanessa resisted for half a second, then collapsed against him, sobbing like something inside her had finally shattered. He held her while she cried, one hand stroking her hair, murmuring reassurances that probably didn't help but were all he had to offer. When the tears finally slowed, Vanessa pulled back, wiping her face with her sleeves. "Sorry, that was unprofessional." "We're in your bedroom. I think professional went out the window." She laughed wetly. "Fair point." "Vanessa, don't. Whatever you're about to say, just Don't. She stood up, putting distance between them. We have a deal, 3 months. That hasn't changed. But it can't change, Adrian. If I let myself think about this differently, if I let myself hope. She shook her head. I've spent my entire adult life building walls so people can't hurt me. You're asking me to tear them down for something that has an expiration date. What if it didn't have to expire? The words came out before Adrian could stop them. Vanessa stared at him. What are you saying? Adrian didn't know what he was saying. Didn't know when the fake marriage had started feeling less fake. Didn't know when he'd started looking forward to evenings with Vanessa more than he looked forward to quiet nights alone. I'm saying maybe we should talk about what happens after 3 months. There is no after. That's the whole point. But what if there was? Then we'd be insane. Vanessa crossed her arms defensively. You don't even know me, Adrian. Not really. You know the version of me that bakes cookies with your daughter and helps with homework. You don't know the version that works 80-hour weeks and makes decisions that destroy people's jobs. The version that's cold and ruthless, and everything my father always said I was. I know you defended your employees at that board meeting. I know you got Emma juice without her having to ask twice. I know you cried when she called you Nessa for the first time. How did you? I heard you. In the kitchen. You thought nobody was paying attention. Vanessa looked away. One moment doesn't define a person. No, but a lot of small moments do. This is a bad idea. Probably. We're setting ourselves up to get hurt. Definitely. So why are we even having this conversation? Adrian stood, crossing to where she stood by the window. Because I think you're tired of pretending too. Vanessa met his eyes, and Adrian saw fear and hope warring in her expression. What if we try and it falls apart? Emma would be devastated. What if we don't try and spend the rest of our lives wondering what if? That's a terrible argument. I'm a construction guy, not a philosopher. Despite everything, Vanessa smiled. You're also supposed to be leaving in 3 months. Contracts can be renegotiated. Not this one. Why not? Because I'm scared. The admission burst out of her like a confession. I'm scared that if I let myself care about you, really care, you'll leave like everyone else did. Like my mother, like every relationship I've ever tried to maintain, like every person who said they'd stay and didn't. Adrian reached for her hand carefully, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. I'm scared too, he admitted. Scared of screwing this up, scared of hurting Emma, scared of trusting someone with the life I've worked so hard to build. He squeezed her hand gently. But I think maybe being scared together is better than being safe alone. That's ridiculously optimistic coming from you. Emma's rubbing off on me. Vanessa laughed, the sound watery but genuine. We're going to regret this. Almost certainly. My father will make our lives hell. He's already doing that. The media will have a field day. When don't they? Vanessa looked at their joined hands like she was trying to memorize the site. If we do this, if we actually try, we do it right. No more lies, no more contracts. We figure out what this is honestly. Agreed. And if it doesn't work, then we end it like adults, clean, honest, with Emma's well-being as the priority. You make it sound simple. It probably won't be. Definitely won't be. They stood there, hands linked, the city spread out beneath them through the window, neither quite sure what they'd just agreed to, but both too tired of pretending to care. Adrian's phone buzzed, a text from Emma's school. Early dismissal today, pick up at 2 p.m. Emma's getting out early, Adrian said. Vanessa checked her watch. That's in 20 minutes. I should go get her. We should go get her. Vanessa squeezed his hand before releasing it. Together. Together, Adrian agreed. They left to pick up Emma, and somewhere between the penthouse and the school, something shifted. The fake marriage developing real cracks, real possibilities, real dangers. Adrian didn't know if they were making the biggest mistake of their lives or the best decision. But watching Vanessa smile as Emma ran toward them in the pickup line, her daughter's face lighting up at seeing them both there, maybe it was worth finding out. Emma ran toward them with her backpack bouncing against her shoulders. Her face split into a grin that made Adrian's chest hurt. You both came! She crashed into Adrian first, then reached for Vanessa's hand. Ms. Rodriguez said there was a water leak, so we get to go home early. Can we get ice cream? It's 2 in the afternoon, Adrian said. So, ice cream doesn't have a time limit. Vanessa laughed. She makes a compelling argument. Don't encourage her. Ice cream, ice cream, ice cream, Emma chanted, pulling them both toward the car. They got ice cream. Adrian told himself it was because Emma had been so good about the disruption to her life. But really, it was because watching her chocolate smudge smile made everything else feel manageable. They sat at an outdoor table while Emma worked on a cone that was definitely too big for her. Photographers found them within 10 minutes, but they kept their distance, apparently having learned that Adrian wasn't above making scenes when his daughter was involved. There's a man with a camera behind that tree, Emma observed, licking chocolate off her fingers. I know, sweetheart. Why does he keep taking pictures of us eating ice cream? That's boring. Some people have very boring jobs, Vanessa said. Emma considered this while attacking her cone. When I grow up, I want an exciting job, like astronaut or dinosaur doctor. Paleontologist, Adrian corrected. That's what I said. They finished their ice cream in relative peace, then headed back to the penthouse. Emma immediately ran to change out of her school clothes, leaving Adrian and Vanessa alone in the kitchen. That was nice, Vanessa said quietly. The ice cream or the photographers? The family thing, even with the cameras. She started putting away the groceries they'd picked up on the way home. Is this what normal feels like? I don't think anything about our situation qualifies as normal. No, but it felt close. Adrian's phone rang before he could respond. An unknown number. He almost ignored it, then recognized the area code as Emma's school district. Hello? Mr. Cole? This is Principal Weatherby at Metropolitan Elementary. Adrian's stomach dropped. Is Emma okay? Emma's fine. She's standing right here with me, but we have a situation that requires your immediate attention. What kind of situation? Perhaps it's better if we discuss this in person. Can you come to the school? Adrian checked his watch. We just picked Emma up 20 minutes ago. Early dismissal. I'm aware. This concerns an incident that occurred right after you left. Vanessa was watching him with concern. Adrian put the phone on speaker. What incident? Adrian asked. Principal Weatherby's voice took on the careful tone of someone delivering bad news. A reporter attempted to interview Emma in the parking lot after you drove away. One of our teachers intervened, but not before the reporter asked several inappropriate questions about your marriage and family situation. Adrian's vision went red. A reporter questioned my daughter on school property? Unfortunately, yes. We've filed a police report for trespassing and harassment. The individual has been banned from school grounds. But Mr. Cole, I need to be frank with you. This is becoming a significant safety concern. We have security measures in place, which aren't enough. Principal Weatherby's voice was gentle but firm. I've been a principal for 20 years. I've dealt with divorced parents, custody battles, even a few minor celebrity situations. But this level of media attention is beyond our capacity to manage. Every day there are more photographers, more reporters trying to access campus. It's disrupting the entire school. Vanessa grabbed Adrian's arm, her grip tight. What are you saying? Adrian asked, though he already knew. I'm saying we need to consider alternative arrangements for Emma's education, at least until the media attention dies down. You're kicking her out? I'm suggesting that for everyone's safety, Emma's especially, a different environment might be more appropriate right now. We have excellent online learning programs, or there are private schools with better security infrastructure. Adrian hung up. His hands were shaking. Vanessa gently took the phone from him before he could throw it. Adrian, they're kicking her out because of me, because I couldn't keep my mouth shut at a gala. They're trying to protect her. By isolating her from her friends, her routine, everything normal in her life? Adrian's voice rose. She's 6 years old, Vanessa. She shouldn't have to change schools because her father made a mistake. Emma appeared in the doorway, still wearing her school uniform, confusion written across her face. Why are you yelling? Adrian forced himself to breathe. Sorry, sweetheart, just frustrated about grown-up stuff. Is it about school? Why would you think that? Because Principal Weatherby called you, and you have your angry face. Emma walked over, studying him seriously. Did I do something wrong? No, you didn't do anything wrong. This is all on me. Then why do I have to leave? Adrian's heart stopped. You heard that? I was listening from the hallway. Miss Rodriguez does it all the time when parents talk to Principal Weatherby. She says it's how you learn important stuff. Emma's lower lip trembled. I don't want to leave my school. Vanessa knelt down beside her. Hey, nobody's making any decisions right now, okay? We're just talking about options. But the principal said alternative arrangements. That means leaving. Tears welled in Emma's eyes. Mateo's my best friend, and Sarah just invited me to her birthday party. And we're doing a science project on volcanoes next week, and I already started my research. This isn't fair, Emma's voice cracked. I didn't ask to be on TV. I didn't want people taking pictures. I just want to go to school and learn about volcanoes. She ran to her room, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the frame. Adrian started to follow, but Vanessa caught his arm. Give her a minute. She's upset. She's 6 and her world is falling apart. A minute to be angry won't hurt. Adrian sank onto the couch, dropping his head into his hands. I've destroyed her life. You protected me from a media mob. The destruction is a side effect. Great. That makes it so much better. Vanessa sat beside him. What if we hired private security for the school? Made it clear to every media outlet that Emma is completely off limits? You think they'll listen? Not voluntarily, but if we get aggressive with legal action, restraining orders, harassment suits, whatever it takes, we can make it expensive enough that they back off. That'll take weeks, months maybe. Then we do online school temporarily, just until things calm down. Adrian looked at her. You heard Emma. She has friends, activities, a science project about volcanoes. Taking her out of school takes away everything normal she has left. I know, Vanessa's voice was heavy, but what's the alternative? Hoping the media loses interest? They won't. Not while we're the biggest story in the country. Then we make ourselves boring. Stop doing interviews, stop appearing in public. We tried that. It made them more aggressive. Adrian knew she was right, knew there was no good solution, but accepting that Emma would pay the price for his choices felt impossible. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Mr. Cole, this is Jennifer Santos from Metropolitan Magazine. I'm sorry to contact you directly, but I have information about the reporter who approached your daughter. I think you'll want to hear this. Adrian showed Vanessa the message. Could be a trap, she said. Could be useful information. Or a way to get you on record saying something they can twist. Adrian called the number anyway, putting it on speaker. Jennifer Santos answered on the first ring. Mr. Cole, thank you for calling back. You have 30 seconds before I hang up. The reporter who approached your daughter works for Celebrity Insider. They paid him $5,000 for an interview with Emma. Any interview, any questions answered. Adrian felt rage flood through him. They put a bounty on my daughter? Not officially, but yes, essentially. Jennifer's voice was professional but sympathetic. I'm telling you this because I have a 6-year-old daughter too. What they're doing crosses a line. Why are you helping me? Because Metropolitan Magazine doesn't operate like Celebrity Insider. We actually have ethics. She paused. And because I'm hoping you'll give me an exclusive interview in exchange for this information. There it was. The angle. Not interested, Adrian said. I can offer you editorial control. You approve every word before publication, and I can help shut down the bounty. I have contacts at Celebrity Insider who owe me favors. Vanessa leaned closer to the phone. This is Vanessa Sterling. What exactly are you proposing? An interview with both of you. Honest conversation about the marriage, the media circus, how you're protecting Emma. Something human that makes her sympathetic instead of target practice. And in exchange, I make some calls. Get Celebrity Insider to pull the bounty and issue an internal memo that Emma is off limits. It won't stop everyone, but it'll help. Adrian and Vanessa exchanged glances. We'll think about it, Vanessa said. You have 24 hours. After that, the bounty goes up to 10,000. Jennifer hung up. Adrian stared at his phone. This is insane. This is the reality we're living in. Vanessa stood, pacing. We do the interview? Absolutely not. Adrian, I'm not putting Emma on display to make her less interesting. That's backwards logic. We don't put Emma on display. We talk about her without showing her. Make it clear she's a child who deserves privacy, not a story to be exploited. And you trust this reporter to honor that? I trust that it's better than a bounty on our daughter's head. Our daughter. The words hung in the air between them. Vanessa's eyes widened, realizing what she'd said. I know what you meant. Emma's door opened. She emerged with red eyes, and Mr. Elephant clutched to her chest. I'm sorry, I yelled. Adrian opened his arms, and Emma crawled into his lap, still holding the stuffed elephant. You don't have to apologize for being upset, sweetheart. But yelling is rude. Sometimes rude is okay when you're hurting. Emma was quiet for a moment, then looked at Vanessa. Are you going to leave because I was bad? What? No, Emma, you weren't bad. Mateo said his dad left because he and his mom fought too much. And we were fighting earlier, and I yelled just now. Emma's voice got smaller. I don't want you to leave. Vanessa crossed to the couch, sitting beside them. I'm not leaving because you yelled, and the fighting earlier wasn't your fault. That was grown-up stuff that had nothing to do with you. Promise? I promise. Emma seemed to accept this. She leaned against Adrian's chest, tired from crying. Can I still do my volcano project? We'll figure something out, Adrian said. That's what grown-ups say when they don't know the answer. You really are too smart for 6. They sat together on the couch while the city darkened outside, the three of them creating a small island of calm in the chaos. Adrian's phone buzzed again. This time it was a news alert. Breaking. Private investigator claims. Cole Sterling, marriage certificate, filed hours before public announcement. Questions raised about authenticity of relationship. He showed Vanessa without Emma seeing. Her expression went cold. My father. You don't know that. I know him. He hired someone to dig into the timeline. She stood carefully, extracting herself without disturbing Emma. I need to make some calls. She disappeared into her bedroom while Adrian sat with Emma, who was slowly falling asleep despite it only being late afternoon. The stress and crying had exhausted her. He carried her to bed, tucking her in even though it wasn't bedtime. Emma murmured something about volcanoes and chocolate ice cream before settling into sleep. When Adrian returned to the living room, he found Vanessa on the phone, her voice clipped and professional. I don't care what he paid you. That information is confidential and releasing it violates... She paused, listening. Then I'll sue your firm for breach of privacy. Yes, I'm aware of the cost. I'm also aware that I have significantly more resources than you do. She hung up, her hands shaking. Your father? Adrian asked. His investigator. Apparently they found the marriage license timing and are shopping the story to tabloids. Vanessa sank onto the couch. He's trying to prove we fabricated the marriage after the gala, which we did technically, but proving it destroys both of us. Exactly. Adrian sat beside her. What if we just told the truth? Are you insane? I'm serious. What if we held a press conference, admitted the marriage started as a misunderstanding, but explained that it became real? People love redemption stories. People love scandals more. The moment we admit any part of this was fake, every news outlet will tear us apart. Your company loses credibility, Sterling Enterprises' stock crashes, and Emma becomes the daughter of a liar. As opposed to the daughter of a target with a bounty on her head, Vanessa didn't have an answer for that. They sat in silence, the weight of impossible choices pressing down. I hate this, Vanessa said finally. I hate that trying to save my company put Emma in danger. I hate that your instinct to help a stranger destroyed your privacy. I hate all of it. Then we end it. I'll call a press conference, explain everything, take full responsibility. You distance yourself, claim you were misled. Stop. Vanessa. I said stop. She turned to face him. We're not throwing you under the bus to save me. That's not how this works. Then how does it work? I don't know, but I know I'm not going to let you sacrifice yourself when this was my mess first. It became my mess the second I opened my mouth. And it became our mess when we decided to actually try. Together. Vanessa's voice was firm. So we figure this out together or not at all. Adrian wanted to argue, wanted to find a solution that protected everyone without requiring more sacrifice. But watching Vanessa sit there, exhausted, terrified, but refusing to abandon him, Adrian realized something. He was falling for her. Maybe had been since that first night at the gala. Maybe since she'd sat on his apartment floor looking for Emma's shoes. Maybe since she'd laughed at his terrible pancakes and stayed anyway. We do the interview, he said. What? Jennifer Santos. We give her the interview. Editorial control, like she offered. We tell our story, the real one, not the tabloid version, and we make it clear that Emma is off limits. That's risky. Everything is risky right now. Vanessa studied his face. You're sure? No, but I'm sure doing nothing is worse. She pulled out her phone, typing quickly. I'm texting my publicist. If we're doing this, we need to control every aspect. Agreed. Within an hour, they had a plan. Interview scheduled for tomorrow morning at the penthouse. Jennifer Santos would submit all questions in advance. Adrian and Vanessa would have final approval on everything. And the article would emphasize Emma's need for privacy. It felt like putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound, but it was better than bleeding out. That night, after Emma had woken up from her impromptu nap and demanded dinner, they ordered Thai food and ate sitting on the floor of the living room. Emma seemed better, chattering about her volcano research and asking increasingly complex questions about tectonic plates that neither Adrian nor Vanessa could answer. We should get you some books about geology, Vanessa said. Real science books? Not kid ones? Real ones. If you're interested enough to ask questions, you're ready for real information. Emma's face lit up. Can we go to a bookstore? Maybe this weekend, Adrian said. But the photographers? We'll figure it out, Em. After dinner, Emma insisted on showing Vanessa her entire rock collection, complete with detailed explanations of where each specimen came from and its geological significance. Vanessa listened with genuine interest, asking questions that made Emma glow with pride. Adrian watched from the doorway, his heart doing complicated things in his chest. When Emma finally went to bed, for real this time, Adrian found Vanessa on the roof deck again, staring at the city. You're good with her, he said, joining her at the railing. I'm winging it. Still counts. They stood in comfortable silence. The city noise muted this high up. I'm scared about tomorrow, Vanessa admitted. The interview?
All of it. The interview, the investigator, my father's next move. Wondering when the other shoe drops. She turned to look at him. And I'm scared about us. Because it's getting real. Because I don't know how to do real. I know how to do business deals and carefully managed relationships and 3-month contracts, but actual feelings? She laughed without humor. I'm terrible at those. You're doing okay so far.
Am I? Because from where I'm standing, I've dragged you into a disaster that's hurt your daughter and destroyed your privacy and might cost you your company. I dragged myself in, remember? By trying to help me. Still my choice. Adrian reached for her hand. And for what it's worth, I'm scared too. Of what? That I'm going to screw this up. That Emma will get hurt. That in 3 months, or 3 years, you'll realize I'm not worth the chaos. He squeezed her hand gently. But I'm more scared of not trying. Vanessa looked at their joined hands. This is a terrible idea. Probably. We're going to regret it. Maybe. But you're not running away? Are you? She met his eyes directly. No, I'm too stubborn for that. Good. Because so am I. They stood there, hands linked, pretending the city below wasn't full of people who wanted to destroy them. Adrian's phone buzzed. A message from Jennifer Santos. Questions submitted to your publicist. Interview confirmed for 10 a.m. Thank you for trusting me with this. It's really happening, Vanessa said. Last chance to back out. Not a chance. They went inside together, and for the first time since this whole mess started, Adrian felt like maybe, just maybe, they had a plan that might actually work. He was wrong. The next morning started normally enough. Emma ate breakfast, complained about having to do online schoolwork instead of going to real school, then settled at the kitchen table with her laptop while Adrian and Vanessa prepared for the interview. Jennifer Santos arrived exactly at 10, accompanied only by a photographer and a recording device. No camera crew, no dramatic setup, just conversation. Thank you for doing this, Jennifer said, settling into one of the living room chairs. I know it's not easy. Nothing about this situation is easy, Vanessa replied. They started with safe questions. How they met, what attracted them to each other, basic relationship timeline that they'd carefully crafted to be truthful without revealing the chaotic beginning. Then Jennifer shifted gears. There are allegations that your marriage certificate was filed the day after the gala. Can you address that? Vanessa's jaw tightened. Yes. We filed the paperwork officially the next day. But we'd been in a relationship for months before that. The gala was simply when it became public. So the relationship was real before the announcement? Absolutely. Then why the rush to file paperwork? Adrian jumped in. Because the media attention made us realize we wanted to make it official. Sometimes external pressure clarifies what you already knew internally. Jennifer made notes. And Emma? How is she handling the sudden media attention? She's a kid, Adrian said carefully. She doesn't understand why people care so much about who her father married. She just wants to do her homework and learn about volcanoes. Volcanoes? Current science project obsession. Jennifer smiled. My daughter went through a dinosaur phase, lasted 2 years. The conversation continued, feeling more natural than Adrian had expected. Jennifer asked about balancing careers with family life, about how they navigated the age difference, about future plans. They were almost done when Emma appeared from the kitchen, her laptop in hand. Daddy, I don't understand this math problem. She stopped, seeing the stranger. Oh, sorry. Jennifer's face lit up. You must be Emma. Adrian stood immediately, moving to intercept. We're in the middle of something. I know. I'll go back to the kitchen. But Emma was staring at Jennifer with open curiosity. Are you writing a story about my dad and Nessa? I am. Is that okay with you? Emma shrugged. I guess. People write stories about them a lot. Most of them are boring. Jennifer laughed. Well, I'll try to make this one interesting. Do you like living here with Vanessa? Jennifer. Vanessa's voice held warning. It's fine, Emma said. I like it. The pool is cool and Nessa lets me use the fancy shower with rainbows. And she's teaching me about business stuff. Business stuff? Like how companies work and why investors are important. Yesterday, she explained stock prices using my rock collection as an example. Emma grinned. It was actually pretty cool. Adrian wanted to pull Emma away, but she was clearly enjoying the attention, and Jennifer's questions seemed genuinely interested rather than exploitative. Do you miss your old apartment? Jennifer asked. Sometimes, but this is like living in a castle, and Daddy seems happier. That made Adrian pause. I do? Yeah, you smile more. And you don't work as late. Emma looked between Adrian and Vanessa. You both seem happier. That's good, right? Adrian's chest tightened. Out of the mouths of children. Jennifer was scribbling notes rapidly. One last question, Emma. If you could tell all the photographers and reporters one thing, what would it be? Emma thought seriously about this. I tell them to go away. Not because I'm being mean, but because they're scary and they make my friends uncomfortable, and I just want to be a normal kid. She paused. Also that my dad and Nessa are nice people, and they don't deserve people being mean to them. Thank you, Emma, Jennifer said gently. That was very brave. Emma shrugged like it was no big deal and returned to the kitchen with her math problem. Jennifer turned off her recorder. She's remarkable. She's 6 and shouldn't have to deal with any of this, Adrian said. I know, and I promise you, my article will make that clear. Jennifer stood, gathering her things. I'll send you a draft by tomorrow. You'll have 48 hours to review and request changes. After Jennifer left, Adrian and Vanessa sat in stunned silence. That went better than expected, Vanessa said finally. Emma just gave an interview to a national magazine. She handled it better than most adults would. She's 6. She shouldn't have to handle it at all. Before Vanessa could respond, Adrian's phone rang. His head of security. Adrian, we have a problem. What kind of problem? There's a private investigator camped outside the building. He's been showing photos of Emma to other residents, asking questions about her routine. Adrian's vision went red. Call the police. Already did, but he's on public property. They can't remove him unless he does something illegal. Then I'll make him do something illegal. Adrian, don't. He hung up, already moving toward the door. Vanessa caught his arm. What are you doing? Handling it? By confronting a private investigator? That's exactly what he wants. You losing your temper on camera. I don't care. Well, I do. And Emma will too when she sees her father arrested for assault on the evening news. That stopped him. Vanessa was right. Of course she was right. But the rage burning in Adrian's chest demanded action. I can't just let him harass our neighbors about my daughter. No, but we can be smart about it. Vanessa pulled out her phone. I'm calling my lawyer. If he's showing photos of a minor without parental consent, that's legally questionable. We can threaten a lawsuit, get a restraining order. That takes time we don't have.
Then we make time.
Together, without you getting arrested. Adrian forced himself to breathe, to think instead of react. Okay, he said finally. Your way. They spent the next 3 hours on the phone with lawyers, building a case for harassment. The investigator was still outside when they finished, but now he had legal papers in hand and a court date scheduled. It felt like a hollow victory. That night, Emma asked why there were police outside. Just a misunderstanding, Adrian lied. Another one? Yeah, sweetheart. Another one. Emma was quiet for a moment. When does this get better? Adrian didn't have an answer. He tucked her in, read her a story about dragons, and sat beside her bed until she fell asleep. When he returned to the living room, Vanessa was on the couch with a glass of wine and a tablet showing news articles. Don't read those, Adrian said. Too late. Apparently we're trending again. She turned the tablet so he could see the headline. Cole-Sterling marriage, love story or business deal. Insider investigation reveals timeline discrepancies. Let me guess. Your father? His fingerprints are all over it. Vanessa set down the tablet. He's not going to stop. Not until he destroys us both. Then we destroy him first. With what? He has lawyers, investigators, media contacts we can't match. He doesn't have something we have.
What's that? The truth. Adrian sat beside her. We tell the real story. Not the sanitized interview version. The actual truth. How we met. Why I said what I said. How the fake marriage became real. All of it. Vanessa stared at him. That would ruin us. Or it would make us human. Sympathetic. Two people who made a mistake and fell in love anyway. You're assuming people care about the truth. I'm assuming they care about good stories. And ours is a damn good story. Vanessa was quiet for a long time, staring at the city lights through the window. If we do this, she said finally, there's no going back. Everyone will know we lied. The board will have ammunition to remove me. Your company will be linked to a scandal. I know. And Emma will know her father told the truth instead of hiding behind convenient lies. Vanessa looked at him with something like wonder. When did you become the optimistic one? About 5 minutes ago. Give me time to regret it. She laughed despite everything. This is insane. Most things worth doing are. They sat together on the couch, planning how to burn down the careful lies they'd built and hope something better rose from the ashes. Adrian's phone buzzed one more time, a text from an unknown number. The truth will destroy you both. Walk away while you still can. R.S. Richard Sterling's warning. Adrian showed it to Vanessa. She read it, then deleted the message without comment. So we're really doing this? Adrian asked. We're really doing this. They spent the rest of the night drafting a statement that would either save them or finish what Richard had started. And somewhere in Emma's room, a 6-year-old girl slept peacefully, unaware that her father was about to bet everything on the truth. Outside, a storm was building, but inside the penthouse, 3 people who'd accidentally become a family prepared to face it together. The statement sat on Adrian's laptop screen, cursor blinking at the end of the final paragraph. 3 pages that would either vindicate them or destroy everything they'd built. Vanessa read it for the 5th time, her coffee gone cold in her hand. We're really going to admit we lied to the entire country? We're going to admit I lied to protect you, and we fell in love despite the chaos. Adrian rubbed his tired eyes. They'd been up until 3 in the morning, writing and rewriting. There's a difference. The media won't see it that way. Then we make them see it that way. He saved the document. We schedule a press conference, read this statement together, and take questions, full transparency. My publicist is going to have a heart attack. Mine already did. I got a very angry voicemail at 2 a.m. Vanessa almost smiled. Then her phone rang. She glanced at the screen and her expression went cold. It's my father. Don't answer. She answered anyway, putting it on speaker. Vanessa. Richard Sterling's voice was calm, almost pleasant. I assume you received my message to your husband. He's not interested in your threats. They weren't threats. They were warnings. But since you've chosen to ignore them, I thought I should inform you personally. The board is calling an emergency meeting this afternoon. They've seen the investigator's report.
Vanessa's hand tightened on the phone. What report? The one documenting your marriage license timeline, your husband's financial history, and some very interesting details about his late wife's departure. Richard paused. Did you know she left because Adrian worked too much? Ironic, given your own workaholic tendencies. Adrian felt ice flood his veins. Emma's mother is none of your business. Everything about this family is my business when it affects Sterling Enterprises. Richard's voice hardened. The board wants answers, Vanessa, and if you can't provide them, they'll vote you out by 5 p.m. today. Let them try. Oh, they will. I've made sure of it. The smile was audible in his voice. Unless, of course, you're willing to negotiate. Negotiate what? Your resignation. Step down gracefully, claim you want to focus on family, and I'll ensure the transition is smooth. Adrian keeps his reputation, Emma stays out of the spotlight, and you walk away with a generous severance package. Vanessa stood, pacing to the window. And you get control of my mother's company. I get to save her legacy from being destroyed by her daughter's poor judgment. Her legacy is my company, everything it's become, every innovation, every success. That was me, not you. Built on her foundation, which you would have sold for parts years ago if the board had let you. Adrian watched Vanessa's reflection in the glass, saw the pain beneath her fury. The offer expires at noon, Richard said calmly. After that, the board meeting proceeds and you lose everything anyway. At least this way you maintain some dignity. He hung up. Vanessa stood frozen, staring at the city below. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. He's going to win. No, he's not. You heard him. He has the votes, the evidence, the board's support. He has fear. That's all he's ever had. Adrian crossed to her. But we have something better. What's that? The truth, and people who actually care about us. Vanessa turned to face him, tears tracking down her face. What people? My father has spent years isolating me, making sure anyone who might support me is too scared of him to speak up. Then we find new allies. We go public with our statement before the board meeting, control the narrative before he can. That's insane. So was claiming you were my wife in the first place. Adrian took her hands. But we're here now, and we either fight together or lose separately. Before Vanessa could respond, Emma's door opened. She emerged in her pajamas, rubbing her eyes. Why are you guys awake so early? And why does Nessa look sad? Vanessa quickly wiped her face. I'm fine, honey. You're crying. That's not fine. Emma walked over, studying Vanessa with 6-year-old seriousness. Is it because of the mean grandpa on the phone? Adrian and Vanessa exchanged shocked looks. You heard that? Adrian asked. I was getting water. The hallway makes voices echo. Emma looked between them. He sounded really mean, like the villains in my books. He's not a villain, sweetheart. He's just mean, Emma insisted. He made Nessa cry. That makes him mean. Out of the mouths of children, Adrian thought. Sometimes truth really was that simple. Vanessa knelt down to Emma's level. You're right. He is mean, and he's trying to make me leave my job. The one where you're the boss of everything? That one, Emma frowned. But you're really good at that job. You explained stock prices to me and everything. Despite everything, Vanessa smiled. Thank you, Emma. So don't let him make you leave. Daddy always says bullies only win if you let them. Adrian felt his chest tighten. I do say that. Then you should listen to your own advice. Emma grabbed Vanessa's hand. Come on, we can make breakfast and have a planning meeting. That's what you do at work when there's problems, right? Vanessa looked at Adrian helplessly. He shrugged. The 6-year-old has a point. So they made breakfast. Emma directed operations from her chair at the kitchen table, suggesting strategies that ranged from brilliant to absurd. What if you just told everyone the truth? Emma asked, drowning her pancakes in syrup. That's actually what we're planning, Adrian said. The whole truth? Even the pretend parts? Even those. Emma considered this seriously. Will people be mad? Probably. Will they still take pictures of us? For a while, but eventually they'll get bored. And will Nessa have to leave? The question hung in the air. Vanessa set down her coffee cup. I don't know, Emma. Maybe. But you don't want to? No, I don't want to. Then stay. Emma said it like it was the simplest thing in the world. If people are mean, we just ignore them. That's what Ms. Rodriguez says to do with bullies. Adrian caught Vanessa's eye across the table, seeing his own thoughts reflected there. When had their complicated adult problems become so clear through a child's perspective? They finished breakfast, got Emma settled with her online schoolwork, and returned to the statement. We release it at 11, Vanessa decided. 1 hour before my father's deadline. Give it time to spread before the board meeting at 2. And then? Then we face whatever comes. Adrian pulled up his contacts, calling his publicist despite the early hour. Marcus, I need you to schedule a press conference for 11 a.m. Have you lost your mind? It's 7 in the morning. Probably, but I'm doing it anyway. Adrian, whatever you're planning, I'm planning to tell the truth. You can help me do it professionally, or I can wing it badly. Your choice. Marcus sighed. I'll make the calls. Vanessa was doing the same with her team, her voice professional despite the situation. I don't care if they think it's a terrible idea. Schedule it. Yes, at the Sterling Building, in the main lobby. I want everyone to see this. By 8 a.m., the press conference was confirmed. Major networks were already promoting it as breaking news. Speculation ran wild on social media about what they would announce. Most people assumed they were getting divorced. That's almost funny, Adrian muttered, scrolling through Twitter. What is? Everyone thinks we're splitting up. They have no idea we're about to admit we were never really together in the first place. Technically, we are together now, just not how we said we were. That's going to be a fun nuance to explain. The morning crawled by. Adrian tried to work, couldn't focus. Vanessa paced endlessly. Emma sensed the tension and stayed quiet, working on her volcano project with unusual concentration. At 10:30, Vanessa's lawyer called. I need to advise you against this, Patricia said bluntly. Admitting fraud, even benign fraud, opens you to legal liability. We're not admitting fraud. We're admitting to a misunderstanding that evolved. That's semantics. A prosecutor could argue, let them argue. I'm tired of hiding. Patricia was quiet for a moment. Vanessa, I've been your lawyer for 6 years. I've never heard you sound like this. Like what? Free. After Patricia hung up, Vanessa stood at the window, staring at the city one more time before everything changed. Adrian joined her. Second thoughts? About 100. You? At least that many. But we're doing it anyway? We're doing it anyway. Emma appeared beside them, having apparently finished her schoolwork. She looked up at the city with them, her small hand finding Vanessa's. It's going to be okay, Emma said with absolute confidence. How do you know? Vanessa asked. Because you're together, and Daddy says together is always better than alone. Adrian's throat tightened. I do say that. Then it must be true. At 10:45, they left for the Sterling Building. Adrian's security team had arranged discreet transport, but photographers still found them. The questions started immediately. Are you getting divorced? Is the marriage over? Vanessa, are you resigning? They ignored all of it, walking into the building through a side entrance. The lobby had been transformed into a makeshift press room, cameras everywhere, reporters packed shoulder to shoulder. Adrian recognized faces from major networks, national newspapers, even international media. His hands started sweating. Vanessa squeezed his arm. Together. Together. They walked to the podium at exactly 11 a.m. Flashes exploded. Questions shouted. The noise was deafening. Adrian tapped the microphone. Thank you all for coming on short notice. The room didn't quiet. Vanessa stepped forward. We have a statement to read. After that, we'll take a few questions, but please, let us speak first. Slowly, the noise died down. Adrian pulled out the printed statement, his hands shaking slightly. 6 weeks ago, I attended the Metropolitan Charity Gala. I didn't want to be there. I'm not comfortable at those events. But I went anyway because my CFO said it was good for business. He paused, making sure he had their attention. While I was there, I witnessed someone in distress. Vanessa Sterling was being cornered by reporters, asked invasive questions about her personal life, and nobody was helping her. So I stepped in. Adrian looked up from the paper, and I made a decision that changed both our lives. I told those reporters that Vanessa was my wife. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Cameras flashed frantically. It was a lie, Adrian continued. A spur-of-the-moment lie told to protect a stranger from harassment. I didn't think about consequences. I didn't plan for the media storm. I just reacted. Vanessa took over, her voice steady. The next morning, that lie had become national news. My company's stock rose. Investors who had been questioning my leadership were suddenly supportive. And I made a choice, a selfish, desperate choice. I asked Adrian to continue the lie. More gasps. Reporters were typing furiously on laptops and phones. We made it legal, Vanessa said. We got married on paper to satisfy my board of directors and maintain the illusion. It was supposed to last 3 months, just long enough for things to stabilize. Then we divorced quietly and returned to our separate lives. Adrian picked up the thread. But something unexpected happened. We got to know each other. We spent time together. My daughter, Emma, became attached to Vanessa. And somewhere in the middle of maintaining a fake marriage, it stopped being fake, Vanessa finished quietly. We fell in love. Not the dramatic movie version of love. The messy, complicated, real kind. The kind that happens when two imperfect people choose each other despite the chaos. The room was dead silent now. Every eye on them. We're not asking for forgiveness, Adrian said. We're not claiming what we did was right. We're simply telling you the truth. Yes, the marriage started as a lie. But what it became is real. Vanessa's voice grew stronger. My father, Richard Sterling, has spent the last month trying to prove our relationship is fraudulent. And technically, he's right about how it started. But he's wrong about what it is now. She reached for Adrian's hand. This is real. Complicated, messy, unconventional, but real. Adrian squeezed her hand. We're making this statement because we're tired of hiding, tired of letting fear dictate our choices. And because my daughter deserves parents who tell the truth, even when it's hard. So there it is, Vanessa said. The whole story. We started with a lie and ended up with something true. You can judge us however you want. But this is our truth. For a moment, nobody moved. Then the questions exploded. Does the Sterling board know about this? Vanessa, are you resigning? Adrian, what about your daughter? Is Richard Sterling behind the investigation? Adrian raised his hand for quiet. We'll answer a few questions, but understand, Emma is off limits. She's a 6-year-old child who didn't choose any of this. A reporter from a business network stood. Ms. Sterling, have you spoken to your board about this revelation? They'll hear about it the same time everyone else does, right now. Vanessa's chin lifted. And if they choose to remove me because I fell in love unconventionally, that's their choice. But I won't apologize for choosing happiness over appearances. Another reporter. Mr. Cole, your company's reputation is built on integrity. How do you reconcile that with lying to the public? I don't, Adrian said simply. I made a mistake, a big one, and I'm owning it publicly. That's the integrity my company was built on, acknowledging errors and making them right. What about the legal implications, marriage fraud? We're prepared to face whatever legal consequences come from this, Vanessa said. But intent matters. We didn't marry for immigration benefits or financial gain. We married to protect ourselves from a media circus, then stayed married because we chose each other. A woman from a parenting magazine raised her hand. Mr. Cole, how is Emma handling all of this? Adrian's expression softened. My daughter is the bravest person I know. She's dealt with photographers at her school, strangers asking invasive questions, and her entire life being turned upside down. And through it all, she's been kind, resilient, and wise beyond her years. Does she know the marriage started as pretend? She knows we're a family that chose each other. That's what matters. The questions continued for 20 more minutes. Some hostile, some sympathetic, all invasive. But Adrian and Vanessa answered them honestly, holding nothing back. Finally, Vanessa raised her hand. One more question. Then we're done. A reporter from Metropolitan Magazine stood. Jennifer Santos, looking professional but kind. Given everything you've been through, everything you've risked, was it worth it? Vanessa looked at Adrian. Adrian looked at Vanessa. Yes, they said together. The press conference ended. They walked off the stage to chaos, reporters shouting, publicists having nervous breakdowns, security trying to clear a path. Adrian's phone was exploding with messages. So was Vanessa's. They made it to a private conference room where Vanessa's legal team was waiting, faces grim. Well, Patricia said, that was certainly something. How bad? Vanessa asked. Legally? Could be worse. You admitted fault, which makes any lawsuit more complicated. But you also showed contrition and genuine emotion, which juries respond to. Patricia pulled up her tablet. But the board meeting is in 2 hours, and I guarantee your father is already using this. Let him. Vanessa sank into a chair. I'm done playing his games. Adrian's CFO appeared on a video call, his expression thunderous. Adrian, what the hell did you just do? Told the truth. You admitted to fraud on national television. I admitted to a complicated situation that evolved. There's a difference. Our stock is going crazy. Investors are panicking. The board wants an emergency meeting. Then have one. But I'm not apologizing for choosing my family over optics. Marcus sputtered. Your family? You've known this woman for 6 weeks. And I've known you for 10 years. Guess which relationship feels more real right now? Adrian hung up. Patricia was watching him with interest. That was either very brave or very stupid. Probably both. Vanessa's phone rang. The board's secretary. She answered on speaker. Ms. Sterling, the emergency board meeting has been moved up to 1 p.m. Your presence is requested. I'll be there. Your father has asked that Adrian Cole not attend, as he's not a board member. Vanessa's eyes flashed. My husband will be there. If the board has a problem with that, they can vote me out before I even sit down. She hung up. Adrian raised his eyebrows. Your husband? We're doing truth now, right? Might as well commit. They had 45 minutes before the board meeting, 45 minutes that felt like both forever and no time at all. Adrian called to check on Emma. She was with Mrs. Patterson next door to the penthouse, working on her volcano project and blissfully unaware of the storm her parents had just unleashed. She's fine, Mrs. Patterson assured him. Ate 3 cookies and gave me a detailed lecture on lava viscosity. Thank you for watching her. Anytime, Mr. Cole. And for what it's worth, I watched your press conference. You did the right thing. The words shouldn't have mattered so much, but they did. At 12:50, Adrian and Vanessa walked into the Sterling Enterprises boardroom. All 12 board members were already seated. Richard Sterling sat at the head of the table, looking like a king about to pass judgment. Vanessa, his voice was cold. How kind of you to join us, and you brought your husband. How domestic. Let's skip the pleasantries, Vanessa said, taking her seat. Adrian stood behind her, a silent show of support. You called this meeting to remove me, so let's vote. Richard smiled. Always so impatient. We should at least discuss your recent press conference, the one where you admitted to fraud. I admitted to a complicated beginning to a real relationship. You admitted to lying to this board, to our investors, to the entire country. I admitted to being human. Vanessa's voice was steady. To making mistakes and falling in love despite them. If that's grounds for removal, then vote. But stop pretending this is about company integrity. It's about control. Control? Richard's face flushed. I'm trying to save this company from your recklessness. You're trying to erase my mother's legacy and replace it with yours. The room went silent. One of the older board members, Margaret Chen, who'd been with Sterling since its founding, cleared her throat. Perhaps we should hear Vanessa out before rushing to judgment. Thank you, Margaret. Vanessa stood facing the board. My mother built this company on innovation, ethical business practices, and genuine care for employees. Under my leadership, we've increased revenue by 40%, expanded into new markets, and maintained the highest employee satisfaction ratings in the industry. Built on lies, Richard interrupted, built on hard work. The lie was about my personal life. My professional record speaks for itself. Another board member spoke up. Ms. Sterling, we're not questioning your business acumen, but the optics will blow over. They always do. What won't blow over is destroying a functioning company because my father wants control. Vanessa's voice grew stronger. I'm asking you to separate my personal choices from my professional capability. Judge me on results, not on gossip. Margaret nodded slowly. That seems fair. It's not fair, Richard snapped. She lied to us. She fell in love, Margaret countered. Messily and publicly, but she fell in love. Last I checked, that wasn't a crime. Adrian watched the room dynamics shift, Richard's absolute certainty cracking against unexpected resistance. I move we table this discussion, Margaret said. Give the media storm time to settle, then reassess based on actual business impact rather than emotional reaction. Seconded, another board member said. Richard's face went purple. You're making a mistake, perhaps, but it's ours to make. Margaret looked at Vanessa. You have 3 months. Prove this doesn't affect company performance. After that, we revisit. 3 months. The original timeline. Almost poetic. The vote passed 7-5. Vanessa kept her position. Richard stood abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. This isn't over.
Yes, it is. Vanessa's voice was quiet but firm. I'm done fighting you, Father. You can accept that I'm running this company my way, or you can resign from the board. But you won't control me anymore. Richard stared at his daughter like he was seeing a stranger. Then he walked out without another word. After the board members filed out, Vanessa collapsed into her chair, shaking. Adrian knelt beside her. You did it. Did I? He's going to make my life hell.
But he didn't win. You're still CEO. For now. For now is enough. They sat in the empty boardroom, the weight of victory mixed with exhaustion. Vanessa's phone buzzed. A text from Jennifer Santos. Your interview published early due to press conference. Wanted you to see it first. Attached link. Vanessa opened the article. The headline read, The Accidental Family, How a Lie Became Love. The piece was honest, sympathetic, and deeply human. Jennifer had woven Emma's volcano obsession, the chocolate chip cookies, the messy reality of their situation into something that felt true. The comments were mixed, some angry, some supportive, all passionate, but the overall tone was clear. People believed them.
She did right by us, Vanessa whispered. Yeah, she did.
They went home to find Emma covered in baking soda and vinegar, her volcano model erupting across Mrs. Patterson's kitchen table. Look, it works! Emma's face was pure joy. The chemical reaction creates pressure and... Daddy, are you crying? Adrian wiped his eyes quickly. Just proud of your volcano, sweetheart. Emma studied him suspiciously, but let it slide. Can we show Nessa? I'm right here, Vanessa said, smiling despite everything. And it's amazing, Emma. It's science, Emma beamed. Mrs. Patterson helped me with the measurements. Mrs. Patterson waved off the thanks. She did all the work. I just supervised the mess. They cleaned up the volcano experiment, thanked Mrs. Patterson, and returned to the penthouse. Emma chattered about lava viscosity, while Adrian and Vanessa exchanged glances that said everything they couldn't say out loud. We survived, for now. That night, after Emma was asleep, Adrian and Vanessa sat on the roof deck watching the city lights. What happens now? Vanessa asked. I don't know. The media will probably dissect us for a few more weeks. Your board will watch every move. My company will need damage control. Sounds exhausting. Probably will be. They sat in silence, the city humming beneath them. I meant what I said, Vanessa said quietly. At the press conference, this is real. I know, but real doesn't mean easy. No, it means choosing each other when it would be easier not to. Vanessa leaned against his shoulder. I'm scared. Of what? That we bet everything on this and it still falls apart. Then we pick up the pieces and try again. That's what people do. Normal people do that. We're a disaster. The best disasters usually are. Vanessa laughed despite herself. That doesn't make sense. None of this makes sense. But we're here anyway. The following weeks were chaos. Stock prices fluctuated wildly. Adrian's board demanded explanations he didn't have. Vanessa worked 16-hour days proving the scandal hadn't affected Sterling's business operations. But slowly, painfully slowly, things stabilized. The media found new scandals to obsess over. Photographers stopped camping outside their building. Emma returned to regular school with enhanced security but relative normalcy. Richard Sterling resigned from the board 3 weeks after the press conference. He released a statement about wanting to spend more time with family, but everyone knew what it really meant. He'd lost. A month after the press conference, Adrian found Vanessa on the roof deck again, staring at the city like it held answers. You okay? He asked. My mother's birthday was today. She would have been 56. Adrian sat beside her. Tell me about her. She was fearless. Started Sterling with nothing but an idea and a business loan she could barely afford. Worked 80-hour weeks while raising me. Never complained, never gave up. Vanessa's voice cracked. She would have hated how scared I've been. She would have understood. Fear doesn't make you weak. She wasn't afraid of anything. Everyone's afraid of something. She was just better at hiding it. Vanessa was quiet for a long moment. I think she would have liked you. Yeah?
Yeah, you're stubborn, protective, and terrible at following social conventions. She would have appreciated that. Adrian smiled. High praise. The highest I can give. They sat together until Emma called them in for dinner. Mac and cheese she'd insisted on making herself, which was mostly edible. 2 months after the press conference, Sterling Enterprises posted record quarterly earnings. The board meeting to reassess Vanessa's position lasted 15 minutes. Nobody even suggested removal. Richard Sterling didn't attend. 3 months after the press conference, the original endpoint of their agreement, Adrian and Vanessa sat in the same lawyer's office where they'd signed the marriage papers. Patricia laid out divorce documents. Standard dissolution, she explained. Since there are no shared assets and custody isn't an issue, it's straightforward. Sign these, file them, and you're legally separated in 6 months. Neither of them reached for the pen. Of course, Patricia continued, you could also just not sign them. Vanessa looked at Adrian. What do you want to do? I want whatever makes you happy. That's a cop-out answer. Fine. I want to stay married, for real this time. No expiration date, no contracts, just us. Adrian took her hand, but only if that's what you want too. Vanessa stared at the divorce papers. 3 months ago, signing them would have been the plan. The safe choice, the logical end to a fake marriage. Emma asked me something yesterday, Vanessa said quietly. What? If I was going to stay forever, or if this was still pretend. Adrian's chest tightened. What did you tell her? That I wanted to stay forever if you and she would have me. And what did she say? She said we should have a real wedding this time, with cake and dancing and her as the flower girl. Vanessa smiled through tears. Very specific requirements. Sounds like Emma. Sounds like family. They didn't sign the divorce papers. 6 months later, they had a small wedding in the penthouse. Just close friends, a handful of family, and Emma as the world's most enthusiastic flower girl. Jennifer Santos covered it for Metropolitan Magazine. The headline read, Second Chances, the Cole Sterling Wedding, Take 2. The article talked about imperfect people making imperfect choices and somehow finding something real. It went viral, but in a good way this time. A year after the gala, Adrian and Vanessa sat on the roof deck watching Emma practice her volcano presentation for school. She'd become the class expert on geological phenomena and took the responsibility very seriously. I can't believe it's been a year, Vanessa said. Feels like longer. And shorter. Both at once. Adrian pulled her closer. Regrets? About 100 small ones, but not about this. Same. Emma ran over, her presentation cards fluttering. I need an audience. Pretend you don't know anything about volcanoes. That won't be hard, Adrian said. Daddy, you know tons about volcanoes now. I taught you. Then we'll pretend very well. Emma launched into her presentation with the confidence of someone who'd learned that being yourself, messy, imperfect, and real, was always better than pretending. Adrian watched his daughter, watched his wife, and realized something. They hadn't gotten a fairy tale ending. They'd gotten something better. They'd gotten real. The media still covered them occasionally. Richard Sterling gave a bitter interview 6 months after the wedding, claiming his daughter had destroyed her mother's legacy. The article got exactly 300 views before people stopped caring. Sterling Enterprises thrived. Coal construction expanded into sustainable housing. Emma's volcano obsession evolved into a genuine passion for science. And the penthouse that had once felt cold and empty became a home filled with laughter, arguments, makeup kisses, and all the messy beauty of actual family life. 2 years after the gala, a reporter stopped Adrian outside his office. Mr. Cole, looking back, would you change anything about how your relationship with Vanessa started? Adrian thought about it seriously. No, he said finally. We made mistakes. We lied. We panicked.
We did things backwards and wrong, but we also chose each other. Every day, even when it was hard, especially when it was hard. That's very romantic. That's very real. Romance is easy. Real is worth fighting for. The reporter published the quote. It became a meme, then an inspirational poster, then something people forgot about. But Adrian and Vanessa remembered. On their third anniversary, they went back to the Metropolitan Charity Gala. Same venue, same type of event, completely different circumstances. Emma stayed home with Mrs. Patterson, working on a new project about plate tectonics. Adrian and Vanessa walked into the ballroom together, hand in hand, no longer caring about cameras or gossip. This is where it started, Vanessa said, where I made the best, worst decision of my life. Still think it was worth it? Adrian looked at his wife, brilliant, complicated, real, and smiled. Every single chaotic moment. They danced, they mingled, they left early to get home to Emma. And somewhere in the ordinary magic of family dinner and homework help and bedtime stories, they found what they'd been looking for all along. Not perfection, not a fairy tale, just love. Messy, complicated, hard-won, and absolutely real. The kind of love that starts with a lie and becomes truth. The kind that chooses partnership over convenience. The kind that proves family isn't always about biology or tradition. Sometimes it's about strangers who become home. Years later, when Emma was older and asked about how her parents really met, they told her the whole truth. About the gala, the panic, the lie that changed everything. About fake marriages and real feelings. About choosing each other despite the chaos. Emma listened to the whole story, then asked the question that mattered most. But you're happy now, right? Adrian looked at Vanessa. Vanessa looked at Adrian. Yeah, sweetheart, they said together. We're happy now. And in the end, that was the only truth that mattered, not how they started, but what they chose to become, together.